Okay. So the recording's in progress, but I can't see you, Ari.
Still says waiting for the host to start meeting.
Oh, there's participants. No, Tan's in. I can see Tanya. Admit her. I can't see you.
Hmm. Oh,
Waiting
here we
room.
go.
It says
Yep, here
one.
I am.
Oh, there's you
There
now.
we go.
Didn't show up straight away. Okay.
Cool.
Okay, I'll get up the line. Cool.
Okay. Okay. Wait.
Just hang up on me. Thank you. Making you the host. I've met. So Ari, I'm making you host. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I've got you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. So everything seems cool.
Yeah, under control.
Under control, maybe in control, under control. Or actually get my cardigan off, which is.
Hi, Ari.
Hi, Tan. How are you?
Okay. It's been awake for a while today.
Yeah.
Yeah. As you do on a Sunday morning on your day off.
That's it. You can be away for a bit longer.
So do we have to take you off host, Ari, when everybody's in?
Yeah, I can make you host again when everyone's in.
Okay, thank you. I'll just sort of like sit here and not worry about it then.
Yeah,
Great.
I'll just keep admitting people as they come through.
What are you hiding your washing from us?
Yeah, it's on the balcony.
What time is it? It's close enough anyway. Not to worry.
12:47.
Got Finn in the other room trying to go to sleep.
Is he here every weekend now with you?
No, usually every 3 weeks, something like that. Yeah, I have him for about a week.
They're growing so big now. It's so quick.
I know. Yeah, growing just keeps on growing.
Hey Tan. Week 11, second last week. You all got plans for going away after we finish doing this?
Not me.
You going to come up north, Law?
Hmm?
You coming up this way?
Yeah, don't know yet.
Pretty.
It's sort of a maybe because just circumstances mean I've got to work my butt off until the end of the year. And I heard from Jared yesterday, and apparently it's fucking stinking hot up your way.
And crazy with people.
Is it really crazy with people?
Yeah.
I don't want to be.
Everyone. Well, it's paradise. Where I live isn't, but it will be in the holiday season. All the caravan parks will be full, I'm sure.
I don't miss any of that.
I'm glad I don't live in Byron. Yeah, that's.
And I'm sort of sad that I don't, and I'm sad that it's changed so much, and that I couldn't stop her from hurting the way she's hurting now because of the influx of fleas that other people call people.
All the real locals.
Yeah, I think they're all driven out, aren't they?
Yeah. No, I think you only have to live there for a year or two now to be a local.
You had to be there 7 years. When I first moved there in 91, you had to have lived there 7 years before you were considered a local.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's. Yeah, not many people are there. Are they really? On the outskirts.
I'm here. I'm just distracted getting a tissue. Spring makes my nose run. Hey, Katina.
Hello.
Hey, Morgan.
See if we've got a better setup this time. Yeah.
Same pairs as last week, actually, if that works with everybody.
No, it doesn't work for me this week. Can't. I'm not like.
Shut up. What?
Well, I'll just get on there and blank out. Like,
Don't care. Doesn't matter. You know, this is just the beginning for any and all of you.
all right. Well, I set up my camera.
This is fucking school, kid.
I know.
So it's not like you're in a position where you got to deal with people and the professionals and the punters that are going to come wanting your time and your fucking space. It'll be completely different then. So you're okay with, just be okay with being in school now.
All right. I'll just go and set my camera up for a minute.
Looking for who else is in.
That's it so far.
Oh, there's Nishka. Hey, Nishka.
Good day, Laura.
So, just missing the Yanks, aren't we? Come on in, spinner! Do you know that expression?
Nah.
So Australian.
Spinner.
Come in, spinner.
Come in, spinner. Nah, I haven't heard that one.
What's it mean? I've never heard it before either.
Come in, spinner. It's a sort of a, it's a cricket term, but it's actually a term for sort of someone that's in your pack, in your crowd. So, you know, you want to be able to sort of see the people who are bowling, the people who are on the field. Anyway.
But fuck no is the one I keep hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This glass, by the way, can you see this glass? This is an amazing glass. So, one of my clients is from Detroit, and she's African American. She's a beautiful human being. And when she came out to Australia before all the lockdown things, she lives in Detroit, hence Detroit soup. But Detroit was just destroyed completely financially by the circumstances in America. It was just because it was ex-car territory and became seemingly, or according to her, tragic. And all the artists started moving in and they just reclaimed all the spaces. And Detroit soup's a big area where everybody gets their communal food and they make their own glasses. So she brought one specially to Australia for me, which I'm in love with, my little Detroit soup glass. Nice story of reclamation. It's like the reclamation that's taking place around Chernobyl by all the beasties. And there's an interesting group of about 7 women after Chernobyl went shit-faced that everybody was moved into the suburbs and the high rises in Moscow and St. Petersburg. And these 7 women who had their ancestral farmland for several generations, they just went, fuck it, moved back. And they moved back. And they're now in their 80s and 90s and they're still milking their goats and their cows and growing their vegetables, and they don't really give a shit if they're irradiated because the whole place is rewilded itself. And if they're radiated and they're elder women and they're in their own space together, I just think it's fabulous. Don't get too scared and are willing to move to places that other people might think are uninhabitable. But considering what was done in the Marshall Islands by the Yanks, or the American government, not the people, sorry, I do apologise, by sending the people back to Bikini after they'd dropped a couple of nuclear bombs on there, and they'd removed the people, then they dropped the bombs, and then they sent them back to be able to do the experimentation on what happens to a human animal after it's been irradiated. So that happened just recently. Greenpeace took them off the island, by the way, so I think they were saved. But there's a lot of people being moved from, and this has been going on probably since about the zeros, noughties, whatever you call it. A lot of people from Tahiti specifically have been moved to Auckland hospitals with major cancers, and the children with cancers as well because of all the bombing that was done in Mururoa Atoll. There's my mood for the day. Bit of information. Hi, Shell.
Lord, did you tell the people about the bottom card, the closing card? I don't know if I heard you mention about a closing card for the deck.
No, I
Jeez.
did that. I forget half the things I ever remembered. Just when you're closing the cards off, you want to be able to shuffle them and look as you're shuffling to be able to look and you just find a card that resonates with you quite strongly and celebratorily. Like I like the Nine of Pentacles, but sometimes I'll end it up on the Magician card, sometimes I'll end it up on the Star card. I just like to see the bottom card. It kind of closes off your deck. This week I worked with two people here, Wills and Artemis, with the Dead Reckoning spread, which was odd, but that's okay. Odd things happen. And I showed both of them how to close off and how to open up, and one person had difficulty with the opening spread because it's just a matter of like getting that straight in your head that you're going from head to foot to arm to foot to head to open, and then when you finish and then you just stack them up from foot to head to foot to arm, stack them up, hand them to your client, and the only thing that you do then from then on is you take them back and you shuffle, etc. You've got to remember when you're opening the cards and you hand them to the person to ask that they're going to need you to give them instructions each time, like, can you please take the cards in? And it was a bit stilted, but that's because people are nervous, I suppose. You just give them to the person. This is your territory, this is your time, this is your space, and you give them to the other person and say, can you please shuffle? When you finish shuffling, cut them in 3 piles. You don't need to tell them to discard anything. So what happened this week is that the person sitting there who had given the other person the cards to shuffle said, could you please discard the pack to your left and your right? That's never going to happen in an actual reading. You're simply going to take responsibility for all that yourself. They've just got to shuffle and split them, as you say, and just be able to follow instructions, because it's hard enough for anybody coming to visit you. It's hard enough for them to be able to sit opposite you and trust you, let alone have you give them instructions to make life more difficult for them. Okay, so all the time, I think one of the most important things that I can actually advise you on, if I can, is while retaining yourself through a reading, is to also just keep your compassion. It's wide open. You will go into a state of being of transference, so you've got to let the person know that you're a bit possessed with them. You won't seem like it. I don't seem like law disappears when there's a reading on. Everybody thinks that it's me doing the talking, but it's actually them. So like this week I had a particular person and somebody who turned up in their cards. I repeated over and over again throughout the reading, they're yummy. Now I think that the person sitting opposite me thought that was my opinion, but it's their opinion of the person that is their lover. So really interesting that how people will pick that up, just to know. So when you finish shuffling, that's when you'll shuffle. It's the only time you'll shuffle, at the finish. And that's when you wait to see. I don't want to bring my cards out today, it couldn't be fucked. You wait to see what's on the bottom and find the one that you like. Just be a little bit careful, because whatever you leave on the bottom is going to happen that week. Yeah, so it's a little bit of spellcrafting. Hi, Luna.
I've got a question about people coming in that are like in really disturbed states, like and what somebody who's really struggling with their mental health, and
Don't do them. Don't do them. Don't ever do anybody who's really struggling with mental health issues. Because
how do you know before like I was kind
okay,
of
so what
an experience this week.
It's not on my website, Nishka, but it does. My website specifically says I don't want anybody turning up with scents on their body,
Yeah.
and I don't want anybody turning up with crosses on their body.
Yeah.
If you want to, it's always important for you. Have you got a website?
Not yet, no.
Just a small one will do.
Yep.
And just the 1 or 2 things that you need to be aware of, because when a fruit loop or a person suffering from deep mental trial comes to you, they are going to hurt you. and you are in a really super dangerous position. How can you tell? That's your job before you even start. It quite often, because if they're going to email you or they're going to phone you, if they're just going to turn up, for example, at my tent or no, I won't. I just won't do the person who just turns up. If you're doing that through necessity, Nishka, then you need to at least have a preamble out the front of your workspace that says, I will not work with you if you are going through the experience of any kind of trauma that is just, that tips them over the edge. It's a very similar thing if I'm working, like if a person turns up, you're going to pick them up straight away. If a person turns up on their second day on ice, you're going to know. Their whole body will zing at that. And you've actually also got to be able to pick that up. Okay, I want to give you an example. Can I give you an example?
Please.
There was a person in the Northern Rivers that I read for years. I knew them when they were a he. Okay. This is the early days of their function of going trans. I met them at a Still Ain't Satisfied concert that I was a part of in the 90s, and they transitioned. What happened with the transition was that I don't know whether it was their hormones or what, but the person concerned went nuts. Got to the stage where they were saying to me, now that I'm a woman, I can actually, my uterus, I'm going to start growing a uterus, and then I'm going to be able to have babies. And in the meantime, I'm going to be the masseuse, head masseuse for the whole of the team of the Broncos in Queensland. And I want you to read my cards. And I said, I'm never going to do it again. And they said, I'll take out a hit on you. And no shit, there was a life-threatening situation. That person became really dangerous, and I got really freaked out because I'd heard from other people that they had sent bruisers around to beat people up. So what do you do with that? Your first reading with that person may be okay. Within the first 5 minutes, you're going to pick up if there is mental illness. You're going to have a 7 of Cups, a moon card, perhaps a tower, perhaps a devil, all of those mixed up together. You've got to know that that person is going through that. If they don't tell, and if they're the other one, and then what are you going to do? How are you going to, you're just going to ask them to leave? I would. And I would do it with as much care and gentleness as possible. And you need to say to them, please come back to me when you've got through this, because I can't help you when you're going through these crises. You need professional help from them, because the last thing you want to do is to end up being in a situation where their family turns up and said, you're dealing with a fucking mad person and you've advised them this, and this, and they'll put the blame on you. Don't think for a moment they won't, because they will. That's what you've got to work out. You with me, Nishka?
Yeah. I had an experience this week with somebody that, that I was very concerned that they were perhaps going to kill themselves after our reading, and was throwing a lot, and there was the tower, the devil, and the moon card. There wasn't the 7 of Cups, which is something I expected.
Don't expect it.
Oh, well, okay. No expectations.
You've got enough going on there.
Yeah, it was a lot. And, they'd had a death in their experience recently, and there was it was just a lot there. I mean, but I was pretty freaked out afterwards. I didn't know, I was like, it was one of those experiences where I was like, oh fuck, I don't know if I want to do this,
Well, the bottom, this is difficult, because did the person turn up with an Ace of Swords death card?
Ace of Swords death card? No.
They turn up with a 10 of Swords death card?
Yes, but there had been a death. It was recently, they're one of their partners.
The Ace of Swords death card didn't show up dead center to the, excuse the pun.
Oh.
If it didn't turn up, then you're not going to die.
Right.
It's that simple. So you just got to tell them what is going to happen.
Yeah.
And if they're vulnerable, you've got to say to them, it's not my responsibility to be your mother. I'm your psychic. That's it. You just lay it out real clear. And then it's their choice. And say, because I'm not necessarily going to agree with you or side with you on anything, it's your choice to stay or go. This is why I never do a person on the same day as they want to come in, because you've got to actually prep yourself. it's really tricky. So are you working from home, or are you working from your own studio, or are you working from a market? What's the deal?
Yeah, I work from a market and I work from my own studio. I do short readings at the market, and
Working
like,
from a market, if I can suggest that you're working from a market to get yourself a reputation, and don't do it after that. As soon as you've got clients that can come to your space, that's when you can lay down your parameters. You actually can't do that in a public space like a market. You're at the mercy, seriously, the mercy of the people that are running the market on one level, and also random scenarios. The other thing that I'm very aware of is, and somebody who is in this group here has been working through a, what do they call it, a psychic fair all week last week, and it's been shocking. And it's shocking because of the attitude of the owners or the managers of these places, because they almost tell you what you should and shouldn't be saying, tell you what you should and shouldn't be doing. I do recall being in Byronshire in the early days, and I thought it would be nice to not have to work from home. So I went down to the medicine wheel and sort of said, okay, I can read some cards from here, and that's going to bring in a few punters, because a lot of people were coming to my home. And they said, yes, but you've got to be able to never tell them bad news. I need people to spend their money here, not for you to tell them bad news. So everything you've got to tell them has got to be good news and nice and light, and keep it light and fluffy. And I said, fuck you and fuck your dog and fuck your father and fuck just about everybody in your ancestry. But that was my response to being told what I should or shouldn't tell anybody. And in a public space, you are really vulnerable like that, Nishka. Just let you know. You don't know who's going to sit opposite you.
yeah, no, it's been real weird. It's been very interesting.
And
But it also gets a lot of business, then the next week there's like people calling me up, and I heard from so and so, and I'm coming, can I come next week? So it's working, like there is this drumming up happening. So it feels, but it rings me out too,
Well, it
13,
rings you out. What
13,
you do
14
now is you've
people.
got to establish a pattern where you pace yourself. For example, back in my 30s, I could read 4 people in a day. But that's as many as I could do without suffering. And in a market, I know they're passing through every 10 minutes, and you might do sort of like 30 or 40 people in a day. That's going to ring you the fuck out. And the more you get a reputation, when they're coming to your house, please pace yourselves. And you also need to discuss this with your family and the people that you're connected to, because that you got strangers coming through your space. Everybody has to be in agreement, and it sets up a strange paradigm, because your kids then need to know not to be around at certain times. Any partners need to know that this is what you do, this is your work, this is the job, this is your workspace, and nobody should be going in there and nobody should be interfering. And that's just a prerequisite of you being a working human being. Yeah? You
Yeah. Yeah. Here you might, the studio's away from the house, so it's kind of good.
It's really important. And then never let them come to your home if possible, and because that way you could take your work away from home. If it's going to be in your home, it's always been in my home, I've always done it from home, and that's been super stressful when my children were little, but that was because of the dysfunctional behavior of a past partner. But it was super stressful, because that closed door said to those kids, you shouldn't go in there because mummy's having her friendships. And that raised up a lot of issues that I needed to deal with my offspring when it came time for them to be 8 or 9 and realize what had been going on behind my back. So everything's not always straightforward. Yeah, and you also, with a public space, you are subject to the whims of people that are Christians, people that have got a bias, people who have think it's a joke. That's the other thing. You're in that position where they'll go, oh, this is a bit of fun, let's go get our fortune read. But if you're in a situation where you're serious, yes, they're going to come to you. But first of all, you've got to put up with that. And sometimes it's necessary, but you've sometimes got to put up with that belittlement of your work and pre-existing art, archaeological, really, archaeological cosmology and ideology around this kind of work. It's just so primitive and old-fashioned. Not primitive, primitive's a great word. It's just very old-fashioned and biased by Abrahamic law, that people will treat this like it's a bit of fun and fluff. And of course you're going to shock them. But then if you shock them, it can go two ways. If it goes one way, they can sit there. I give people an option. I go, this is looking really, really difficult to read. You've got two options before we start: stay or go. At any market situation, I would always give them that option. 99% of the time they want to stay and hear it out. And you've just got to let them know you're the messenger. That's also important. That tarot's doing, that they're the ones who are telling you the information to give back to them. That's a big priority always, that you set up amongst your clients, or to tell your clients that this is not you being the queen of this or the queen of that, or whatever your gender happens to be, doesn't make any difference. If the whole point is to be in a situation where you let them know that you are them. And it doesn't seem like you're possessed, but you bloody well are, which is why you're going to feel sick at the end of it if you're not careful. Have we talked about the sicknesses people can go through? We did, didn't we?
There was a bit of, can you hear me? There was a bit of discussion on the group page about that. And you said that you used to get stomach issues.
Oh, extremes. I mean, I would look 7 months, 8 months pregnant at the end of a day of doing 4 or 5 people. And then it took me until the next morning for that to go down.
Why is that? Do you know? Why?
You're dealing with the world. You're taking inside of it's because there's no logical explanation, but everybody has some kind of physical reaction to this work, always. Even if you just feel fucking odd before you start and odd before you finish. And I usually get odd before I start because I get in a zone. It'll be a good hour I'm in that zone, and to go straight into a reading without that zone, I would just be, and again, there's no describing how each of us does that, but you do have to get into that zone, so that people who've got things they want to chat about, or the phone's going to ring, it's switch it off, get into the zone. It's important. But no, there's no describing the physical issues, and I don't know how they're going to come up, but the most important thing I think that out of this discussion, which is a very important discussion, Nishka, thank you for that, is that you will have a physical reaction. The physical reaction that came through to me from Kate Paz, who apprentice from years ago, who when she was first working in WA at the end of a market, I said, how do you feel? And she said, I feel like a piece of paper that's been in the oven for hours. And that's been her consistent situation. But what's actually happening, and what can happen, and this is tricky without naming names, is that over a period of time, we get so sure of what we're doing that we become bitter and twisted towards other people. And that's a thing that needs to be always aware of the fact that you are going to know more than other people. You will be pulled to research. You will be pulled to look to the alternative of established concepts of history. You are walking deeper and deeper into your indigenous ancestry by doing this. We're going deep, deep down, like 1, 2, 3, 10,000 fucking years. And that's what happens is that you're waking up that which is perhaps laid dormant for centuries. Luna, strange dreams, broken sleep after a reading. Yeah, all kinds of situations that'll occur. And you've got to be able to actually have, if possible, conversations with your own flesh and blood body. Even if you look into a mirror, this is mirror magic, where you're working with your own image and you look into your eyes. Of course, when you look into your eyes in mirror magic long enough, it becomes all warped and horrible and terrible. But it's also important to talk to your physical body's self and explain that this is what you're going through. And you can get in front of a mirror and say, I'm so sorry, darling. Okay. And just blow yourself kisses. That's at least participating in loving yourself enough to be able, if you don't love yourself 100%, you're not going to be any fucking good for other people. That's important also. So any vulnerabilities on your part, you need to work them out, and you will over time. The other thing that's significant and confused past partners radically, and past associates radically, is how I could go from being, for example, an hour prior to a session involved in a deep and meaningful discussion about society, culture, history, whatever, and then flip into a reading, flip into that space and not talk to them anymore. They go, what the fuck just happened? We were having a good conversation. I said, you're just going to have to wait or forget about it. And the person needs to know you. This is who you are, and this is what you do. You are a seer. This is the work of a seer, is to be able to recognize the difference between, you are different to other people. Fuck it. This work is extraordinary. Okay, that's the best way to describe this. And if you try to be like other people, it's going to, you'll get lost. You'll get lost trying to fit in. Does that mean you can't disguise yourself as like a bank manager? No. I defy any of you to try.
Good luck, eh?
Good luck, guys. Because it will just pull you away from other people, and you'll end up having nothing to say to most people anyway. I can be considered by people, all kinds of people will think all kinds of things about you, but there is something that will happen over a lengthy period of time that, again, is not explicable in words, is that tarot, when it works through you, it's like it leaves a residue on your ness. And over a period of time, it's like that residue, as in any form of calcification, will build up within you, and you become tarot. And there's no describing what that is. It's like you walk this path of ancestors. You take the risk of walking outside of the mainstream ideology of what constitutes a job or what constitutes a person's work. If you walk with this, sooner or later, people are going to recognize it. And they don't know what it is because it's 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years into our ancestral depths. But they see it and it either frightens the fuck out of them and they think we're mad, insane people. But because we don't come across verbally as insane as we come across extremely intelligent and lucid, it sort of, that makes it even more screwy. Because you're not, it's not boxable what this is. To be a psychic, to be a mystic, to be a person who questions every concept or construct of what is applicable in a society that has no culture. All of this is going to affect you year after year after year, and you just deepen, so you become a different kind of animal. Anyway, where are we up to? Who haven't I said? Hi Lee, hi Sharon, haven't said hello to you yet. Don't know who I'm missing. All right, so Rebecca, hi. Hi Sarah. So all of you here. So today we're going to be going on to the Stargate. I do apologize for being late putting up the planetary associations, but I'm also very aware that you are quite capable of having looked that up yourself. The one thing I want to be very aware of when we discuss the planetary associations with the Stargate is that you don't gender them, please. Okay, because that's a misnomer it's been typical. It happens in astrology quite a lot, and it's offensive to people of the LGBTQI community, and it's also offensive to people who perhaps come from a different culture to us. Okay, right. Any more questions before we start? That was excellent. Oh, the chats that are down the bottom, by the way, I'm just not looking at them. I do apologise. So that if you've got a question, it's or you've a mention of anything, it's preferable to bring it up in discussion time, which is now, before we get onto the actual work itself. If you put it in chat, I'm just not going to look. I couldn't be bothered. I apologise, but I don't.
So with those awkward feelings, like they will just hang around for a little while. Like after the reading, I mean, you obviously go and, you know, have a swim or whatever in the ocean. But what if they hang around? What's the
What's they? Who's they?
The sick, awkward feeling, like
The awkward feeling. Okay, you just got to do something extremely physical. This is the best thing if you are sedentary, like if you've got a fixed address. The best thing for that is a kick bag. And just learn enough. I mean, you can probably get it off YouTube. Just learn enough to do a turning side kick, and then being able to sort of like put your hands in wraps and punch it out. It's actually one of the best. Yoga will also help. Just being able to stretch and move that. I had a person this week I'm working with because she's in the film industry, and as a result of being in the film industry, she went and got her lips plumped, and the doctor concerned did too much. And then she used this thing, I think I can remember the word, hyaluronic acid, I think it's called, to have the stuff removed. And what it is, originally the actual compound was used to dissolve the fascia around certain muscles. Now, I don't know about this. Is new information for me, so I'm fascinated with all this, and I'll talk to her a couple of times a week. The fact that the industry really seemed to necessitate her having to do this practice is dreadful, because again, it's still a war against women with the use of certain products. But now it spread. First of all, started spreading through her face, so she seemed to get a neuralgia, and then it spread through the rest of her body, so that all her connective tissues is dissolving. How about that for a person? So I'm just working with them while they die. Yeah. I speak to them. They call me Mama Sure. I don't know where the fuck that came from. But seeing things like this is like so odd, to be able to see this in tarot, that you'll get to that stage. And sometimes, yes, sometimes with a person, I'll extend out past a reading. But this feeling of weirdness, I'm still on that, Tan. I haven't lost that. Sorry. But I'll also, in some instances, something in your gut says, stick with this person. This person's going to just need your advice. And then I allow them a little bit of time, like as I said, twice a week in the evening, we'll have a chat. Because sometimes what happens is everybody gives this fucking advice and it's not based on anything. And sometimes all that person needs to do is to have someone who can listen and be with them and just cheer their courage to be able to get through that process. And this week, I can't remember how it led up to it, but they started feeling really good about themselves, because the dysfunction started to dissolve a little bit. And they had a bit of a celebration. They had a glass of wine, and that triggered the whole thing to start all over again. And they're living with their grandparents they're an adult, but they're living with their grandparents in a part of Australia because they had to come back from LA, which is where they were working. They were flown back here because of the scenario. And then they went hard on themselves. See, this is it. We have a society that lives with guilt or arrogance. I mean, there's a lot of talk about a lot of different feelings, but they're the two that are very, very strong. And so she's kind of like metaphorically beating herself up, and what's the point of that? And I mentioned a person that's well worth mentioning, Tan, to do with, again, how to feel better. And that's a woman named Amy Cuddy, AMYCUDDY. She's got TED Talks. And Amy Cuddy works with body language particularly. And you'll watch body language. This is actually part of what you do. Body language really, really matters, and that's 90% of what you're going to be reading is that person's body, even though you've got the ability to read the tarot as well. That's your doorway. Amy Cuddy, pretty much her body language is very, very interesting. It's this. So this sensation of being completely wide open, legs, feet, okay, it's what happened. This particular body language happens when an orangutan is happy, when a gorilla is happy, when any other primate as well as ourselves is really happy, once we pass the finish line, once we watch our team win, this is the gesture. And it's a wide open gesture. And what this gesture is in martial arts, they're here, I'm going to stand up, from here to here is called the dantian. There's other words. Doesn't matter. I don't give a fuck what the other words are. But the dantian is a certain area of the body that incorporates almost all your major organs. What occurs when you go to like in Melbourne, if you go to a dog park, and all the animals are in together, and there's a puppy, and the puppy wants to play with the bigger dogs. One of the bigger dogs will come over first to say, who the fuck are you? And the puppy will lay on their back and expose all their belly, all the dantian area of the belly, and that says, you can tear my guts open and you can rip my throat out. I am being obeisant, okay? But what it is also, when the dantian or the hara is exposed like that, it shows that you've got no fear. Now, one of the techniques so basically, Amy Cuddy maintains if you're going for a job interview, you go into the toilets and you stand in one of the cubicles and you do that gesture for about, that's it, Kate. You do that gesture for a good 3 minutes and breathe when you're doing it. So what happens is you're informing your body that everything is brilliant and fabulous, and you're in this great joy. Everything's wide open.
One of my clients, she does that at networking events just before she walks in the door, and it always pays off. She always looks amazing and is really confident and feels really good, and people are attracted to her.
That's it. Now, when I was working with a group of kids in the Byron region years ago, I put on a Rocky Horror show. So I was trying to get particularly the girls who were in their 15, 16, 17 years, and they were super, super bent over. And getting them to understand stage presence was very interesting. And I probably mentioned this a week or so ago. So I got them to walk down the street from the bank, the Commonwealth Bank, just to the bakery, or from Railway Park, I think it was, Commonwealth Bank, one of the two, to the bakery, which is not that far, but I got them to walk normally, and the rest of the cast and crew were on the other side of the street watching. And I got them to walk down the street normally, place is crowded, group of 5 girls, nobody thinks twice. They get a little look from people that are predatory, but that always happens. But then I got them to walk back lifting their sternum. Just that. I said, just lift your sternum and walk. And it was like something out of Charmed. They turned every head on the street. But what that does, and this is always we learn this, when this lifts up, is all your organs are in alignment. Right down to your groin, from your throat to your groin, all your organs are in alignment. When you do this, you're crushing the intestines, you're crushing the liver, you're crushing your spleen, you're crushing your pancreas, they're all crushed in together. And that crushing is interesting because the body language of people bending over a mobile phone a lot is despair. That's the body language. That's fucking awful. So this opening up, particularly when you've done your work and you feel weird, just open it up. It's like in Aikido, it's one of the stretch moves that we have in Aikido, and then you reach the floor. You go down between your legs and you let your hands reach the floor, and then you reach it up again, and you stretch it back, and you reach it forward, and you reach the floor. And you just do need to do that 3, maybe 5, maybe 10 times, whatever, and then you just give it a good shake out. And that's also going to liberate your flesh and blood body, because it's your flesh and blood body that's picking up all of it. I mean, you've even breathed in their skin cells. How gross is that? But you've breathed their breath. You've been in the room with their scents, with their underarm smells, with their sexual smells, with their skin cells floating through the air, leftover bits of dust and detritus from their houses, their moods, all of that. They're bringing all that to you. They don't know that they're doing it, so you can't. It's not really a matter of like, there's no blame in this. This is the job. But afterwards, you need to know, have a shower or clear yourself off. But that body language of opening up, that'll work every time. Yeah, and also be aware that, please, when you're sitting at your computers, that if you're bending over like that and you're leaning down and you're crushing your innards, that you're creating sort of just, not only is your posture totally shit and you look like shit, it's going to end up having a detrimental effect on your insides as well. How's that, Town? Does that work for you? Where are you, darling?
Yeah. So, and that Aikido move, does it have a name?
No.
No. Okay.
Don't name everything. Stop naming.
No.
I mean, everybody wants to fucking name things.
And just
There's a expression. What's his name? I can never remember the guy. Oh, D.H. Lawrence said naming is treacherous, for names divide truths into half-truths, making them a coffin of counters. Be careful. Give the spell no name. So that even when I'm doing a reading for a person, and I'll throw out the Stargate, I call it the Stargate like it was called the Kabbalistic Cross, because somebody's already done that. People say, and I'll throw it out, and they say, what's the name of this spread? And I say, I don't fucking know. I did that for the books. And that's the truth. You've got your spreads, you know your work. You don't have to fucking name them all. Yeah? Good question. Thank you. No name. It's one of the stretches. Have you ever gone along, Tan, to the Aikido school in Melaleuca Drive in Byron?
Yeah, I used to take my son there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So just going there and going through the stretch process is well worth doing in the background as they're doing it. Just hang around, just near the doorway there. Yeah. I mean, asking permission of the sensei is a good idea. Yes, but just for your own sake.
I might even just join up. Join in. Yeah.
Yeah, it's well worth it. The stretch sessions with Aikido alone are fabulous, let alone anything. Yeah. What else? We ready to go, or you want more? I've got hi, Gabrielle. Is you there? All right.
Neela not here today.
Huh? No, I'm wondering what's happening to Nila. Where's Nila?
No news.
Where's Nila? Up there? There's Nila, and there's whatever the other. Sorry, another guy in America as well. His name escapes me. Might have a workshop on.
Danger.
They may not have allowed for the time change because we had our clocks fall back an hour.
Oh, okay.
So I'm actually here at 9 o'clock instead of 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock when we originally started.
It's 9 o'clock there now?
It's 9 o'clock now. 9:32, yeah.
You can pretend it's early, Sharon.
It is early. This is early.
Nishka, you on the phone to...
Yeah, I'm trying to get through to her, so I'll see what I can do. Yeah, she hasn't looked at it in since yesterday, so.
Okay, yeah, she may be distracted.
Definitely.
All right. Doesn't matter. Let's go. We're going to be going with the Stargate. Do you want to go? Can we go with we can't go with the same patterns as last week then, since everybody's not here. We'll start out. Where's America?
Can I pass this week? I don't think I'm very prepared for it this week.
You don't have to be prepared for anything.
Okay.
You got a workspace?
I can in like 2 minutes.
Okay.
Or less.
If it's only 9 o'clock, I'm not too bothered about you then, Sharon, being first off. Let's go, Kate and Sarah, since you're in front of me.
Or do you want me to spotlight the people again?
Yes, please.
Who do you want to be spotlight first? Who's reading for who?
So at this stage, I'm going to get all mixed up just because of it is what it is. Kate, you're going to read for Sarah. And then Sarah, you're going to read for Kate back. Okay. Is that cool? Ari, you got that? And we're just going to look at the Kabbalistic cross or the Stargate. So
yeah.
As once we lay you two out, or once we get your first one laid out, we're just going to take a whole lot of time with the first layout. Just going, don't you shuffle them, don't you dare shuffle them. What the fuck are you doing?
Sorry.
Okay, open those puppies, please. Do you remember how to do that?
Are you talking about the...
It's the pentacle. Soaking pentagram.
So Stargate, be interesting to see what comes up for me. I still seem to want to read it in isolation. I'm finding it hard to read as a story.
But well, let's see how we go.
Well, I'm going to discuss each of the different Sephirot and the planets that are associated with them.
Yes.
With particularly these first two, even rather than getting into the actual prophetic side of things, which we will do anyway. Everybody's having the same problem, Kate, and it simply is. And this is not derogatory to say it's a beginner's thing, but it is a beginner's thing. Okay, so
Yep.
as a beginner, you've probably taken about 3 or 4 years of using this system before it becomes bang, and it will become bang. It's bang there. It's bang
Yep.
in front of your face. Okay. I was working with Wills and Artemis this week, and it was the big frustration there in the house here was looking at individual cards, and it's so tricky because I've got to watch my. It's not that I get a temper. It's just that I get really frustrated because that's a problem when you're used to doing a thing, is that it's so fucking easy that I've got to almost like relearn patience.
Sure.
Sorry, Wills. Sorry, Artemis, but it was what it was, and as such, the actual video is sort of screwed up a bit. So now, what you're going to do, Kate, is basically ask. I'll hand it over to you. Can you speak
Okay.
to Sarah?
Hi, Sarah. And what sign are you again, Sarah?
I'm an Aquarius.
Aquarius. Okay. So if you show up in the spread, you might show up as a as one of the sword characters.
Thanks, Rebecca. Got it.
So if we can just start at the bottom, we're going to do the Stargate spread. So we're starting with one card closest to you in the center, facing. Actually, can you face
shuffle them
me?
Why did you say that? Oh, okay. Just don't worry about
Has she already shuffled?
she shuffled?
No.
Have you shuffled, Sarah? Sorry, let's get you shuffling. Sorry, I thought you'd already shuffled. Okay, so let's shuffle the cards. Let's start from the beginning. And yeah, for the sake of this, Sarah, if you can lay it out. So when I'm saying the bottom, I mean closest to me on the screen. I guess to your left.
Closest to the camera.
Closest to the camera.
Yeah. You just got to remember that the camera.
Okay.
Yeah, is their eye. Yeah, your eye.
Great. So first one in the center, closest to me, a little bit further up, please. Yep, that's it. And then to the left of that, just above it. I mean, sorry, above it, straight above it. We've got Malkut, Hassad. Hold off just to the left above that one, please.
To the right of center.
To the left of center. I normally go that.
You see, it's your client's right. You're not, Kate, you're speaking from where you are. Please don't do that. Speak from where they are. So it's their right.
So from where you are to the right. It's kind of interesting because she's on the side of it. So I'm talking about the center line.
It's still her right. So
okay, so to your
right hand. Next one is to her left of center.
Now to your left of center. Okay, and then in the center above that, please. And then to your right of center. And then to the left of center, and then above to the right again, please. And then to the left. And then one in the center at the top.
Gotcha.
And then, we're going to have one, I'd like it crossed in the, center there. Okay. A little bit of a focus issue here. Okay.
Is that okay?
Yep. Okay.
Never read from Rebecca to everybody. Never read reversed cards. It's rubbish. There's an 8 of Wands which is reversed.
Sorry. Can you turn the 8 of Wands? Yep. Can you turn that up the right way? Thank you. A little bit blurry up the top. Is that a King of Cups at the very top? And then I've got 9 of Pentacles on the top. Okay. Yep. I think I'm good there. So there seems to be a bit of change.
Pardon?
In Malkut there, I'm seeing like the change with the knight there.
No. Look at the whole thing, please. First, look at the whole thing first, and then we'll break it up after you've had a really good go. It's really sort of a bit on the simple side.
Okay, we've got sort of center in the heart.
For the first thing I'd like you to do, Kate, is ignore the page and the king.
Okay.
Okay, so if you look at
ignore the face cards.
Knight of Wands, Knight of Pentacles, four of Wands in the middle, the 3 of Pentacles over in the sphere of Hood, the Chariot card and the card opposite that. Just have a look at all them, and get a feel for what the person, and it may not be the person you're reading for, remember that, but get a feel for what they're actually doing, because I know what they're doing.
I feel like they're in discussions about a project that they're working on. They're sort of
No, forget the word project. What are they doing?
Like marriage?
No, not at all.
We've got a lot of the notes there. We're getting things in order. We're discussing. We're getting things in order, and we're maybe having to make a decision, change direction. No.
Directions.
What about?
I'm only just going to say no to the things that you've just missed. That you've got.
Good. Do please say
yes.
No. Yeah. No, now it's not reading for me. She's just like going nuts. I just see like, I sort of see this kind of sense of working on something. I'm seeing like we're working on something. There's been some financial challenges.
I know, but working on something doesn't say anything, Kate.
Well, what are we working on? Well, that's
the festival. They're getting
the festival card.
In an outdoor festival.
Do you think it's that literal as a festival?
Yes.
Okay. So we've got it. We're working on a festival. We're planning.
Because of without mentioning the Three of Pentacles, without mentioning the Knight of Pentacles, without mentioning the Knight of Wands, without mentioning the Four of Wands, you don't need to do that. You look at the whole thing and you see them getting prepared to be on a festival circuit or to present their wares at a festival circuit.
Yeah.
Simple.
Can definitely see that. But would you say, because I guess because festival is something I relate to. Do you always?
It doesn't matter what you relate to. It doesn't matter. You're not present, Kate. Stop.
I know. Okay.
Just forget about what you do.
Yeah.
This is somebody else's life completely. Okay.
Yeah. So they're discussing a kind of, a festival or an event that they're going to work on.
But the discussions are really interesting because the discussion, we'll go back. Okay, let's wait a moment. Let's just back up to the planetary associations.
Yep.
Sphere of Malkuth is the Earth, that we live in. Earth that we live with. So there's a journey there. There's travel there. Okay. Yesod is the sphere. This person could very well be pregnant, by the way.
With the Page of Cups there. Okay.
Yeah. The Knight of Pentacles, they've got a lot. This is the sphere of Venus. Venus is love, sexuality, art, creativity, self-expression, vavavoomness, eroticism, fecundity, fertility. Okay, so without even looking at the card that's there, let's be aware of that. If we move across to Hood, we're looking at Mercury, which is long and short journeys, the ability to communicate, the capacity to travel if necessary, anything that's associated with passports, anything that's associated also in here with any vehicle that moves from place to place. For example, if you had a page of that Knight of Pentacles in this sphere of Hood, that'd be your caravan.
Right.
That'd be your bus, because it's a big vehicle.
Mm.
Okay, because it's very different because it falls in the sphere of Netzach, which has got to do with all that sexuality and beautiful products even will sit in that project. And of course, the central theme is they're fucking dressed to them. The central theme is self. Who am I? Who am I? What am I doing? How am I being? What am I expressing? What am I showing? Because the planetary association is sun, and sun is self. So again, we go back to the hara in this instance. That's the whole, and that's also this part of the body. We'll get onto the body in a minute, but that's the center of the self. This person, well, you can see where they're going. Now, let's have a look over there with the sphere of Gevura, which is associated with the planet of Mars.
Yep.
And that's their family or their community. That's a subtle little which is quite obvious to this. That also will tell you that they're not going far and that they do have restraints associated with community and family that they will take into consideration. Let's move across to Chesed, which is Jupiter.
Jupiter, yep.
No fail. Come on, no fail. Let's have a look up in the sphere of Saturn, which is Binah. Saturn defines it shows you your limitations. It presents you with a limitation or perceived limitation. Even mathematically, limitation is a point that you never actually get to. So it's a perceived or a consensus of limitation. It's also associated with orthodoxy, government, institutions, the restraining factors. It can represent prisons. It can also represent time, a long time. So, that chronos kind of feel. It can actually represent chronological years. Of course, if you move across to the sphere of Uranus, that's got to do with Eight of Wands. Is really straightforward. You're dealing in here with technology, what's happening on a technological level, what's happening with electricity. I mean, for example, if I can just take a moment to backtrack, if there's going to be a festival and there's no electricity set up, or there's no power poles, or there's no IT, and the IT is not good enough, personally, I can think of my own son going to Splendor and setting up his TARDIS with his IT there. And if that Eight of Wands didn't have a capacity to be set up for electricity, etc., then there would be a problem. Okay. Now the key in this particular instance, which is Pluto, it may be very, very deep, and it's very deep. This is my gut saying, I don't want to be poor.
Yeah.
And therein alone is your raison d'etre for the whole fucking experience.
Is the concern around money?
No, I didn't say that. There's not a concern around money. This is a reflection that Pluto is so deep. This is the sphere of art, which is a gateway or a doorway, and it's not something that's known. But it can be simply, it's that little taste of fear, perhaps. The fear of a lack of money, fear of poverty. So that the driving force of all of this map that's in front of you is what this person is going to do. With that, almost in their limbic brain, that Five of Pentacles, in their limbic brain, driving them to take the steps. And it would be a person of great courage, because of course they're getting organized with what they're not organized with before, which is how to do this. So in Malkut, when you see the Knight of Wands there, which is really hard to take it all to pieces in singular cards, but that is the travel. So they may very well be getting their vehicle sorted out and set up, but they are traveling within their local region or local environment. Now, how do you know that?
Is that to do with the swords? Because we're not going far. There's a bit of restriction. I mean, sorry, the Nine of Swords.
Yeah, just call it the sphere of Geverah.
Sphere of Geverah, when we're looking there in Mars, and that's the action planet, and we can see that we're restricted there, so the movement is limited.
And family and community.
Okay, so therefore it restricts you, which is not necessarily good or bad. It just means that you're limited to a certain area.
Absolutely. Now, I do at this stage want to look at the King of Cups and the Page of Cups, and just without going into too much detail, the person concerned is very focused on their child, and whether that child is born or not doesn't matter to you. The focus of all of their drive into the festival circuit or the market circuit is, I want my kid fed.
Okay.
And as a mama, I know what that feels like. Like I'll turn up in Victoria for the first time and go to the markets, and I've got 3 kids. I want my kids fed, and that's the bottom line.
Is that the relationship there between the Nine of Pentacles and the Five of Pentacles? When we're looking at
no, absolutely not. Okay, no, the relationship there is the Page of Cups. Sometimes with an individual, see where Yesod is. It's interesting because we think with our brains, but we don't. We actually think with our bellies. Okay, so that my response to a child that I love, for example, happens in my body. I don't think about it. So that position, this is a tricky one to get hold of, Kate, but it's a very, very excellent spread to be able to grab that. You don't even need to mention each of those individual cards. What I'm mentioning very clearly is the concept of feeding my family and making certain that my family is well fed. And yes, they're enjoying themselves with that Four of Wands. Of course they are. But the preliminary, I would look more at the triangle. And the triangle goes 3 of Pentacles, Knight of Pentacles, Knight of Wands. That's my first triangle. Sometimes it's well worth with this particular map to break it into triangles. Okay. Or lines. Or work down your pillar of severity, which is, of course, the one that's on our metaphorical left. Work down the pillar of mercy, which is on your metaphorical right. Your middle pillar is a different thing altogether. This is the deeper aspect of Kabbalah, which we haven't gone into in this workshop, which is a different story. But you have got Boaz and Joachim, because you'll see both of those on the High Priestess or the Seer card, and that's the left and right pillars. Anytime you've got, for example, the Chariot card, you've got the Boaz and Joachim in the 2 Sphinxes to the front. Those, and you've got the middle pillar. Just be very aware that those triplicities are going to come in a lot of cards. You've even got the 3 of Pentacles, haven't you? And the 3 of Pentacles is really interesting because even in Masonic tradition, the capstone is considered to be the most powerful aspect of any building. So if you're building a bridge or an arch, or in churches, for example, they build all these huge architraves and these, or even a dome. With a dome, it's what's in the very center at the top of the building that's considered the secret capstone. And that's also associated with the whole Magdalene legacies and fucking stuff to do with Templar legacies and so on and so forth. But that's not for here. But here, look at your triangles and their consideration of their family. And also, there was a mention earlier about working from home or working from markets.
Yep.
Right, exactly what
there it is. Yeah, working, getting everything in order, getting your setup in place and grounded, and then being able to move, but you won't move far. It might be local markets, local festivals.
Well, I don't do might, but the 3 of Pentacles is very clear. What the person concerned is doing is finding out where they can go and where they can work.
There's discussions. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they may be speaking to market holders, stall holders, festivals.
Collaboration.
About getting their licenses, making certain they have their insurance, etc., all covered. So it's all being covered. But it's all being covered, interestingly enough, this feels very strongly like the reading of a woman. It could be the strength, for example, like someone like Ari with a young child, so that they're working on that side of things. But it's quite maternal, and that doesn't matter what the gender of the person is. Their first consideration is family and making certain that they don't fall out of money.
That's the emotional concern. Yeah. And what
again, the difficulty here is, Kate, that you've added emotional concern. Why did you put emotional?
Well, because it's in the moon. Because you've got
no. You see. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, please.
Nothing to indicate emotional concern. Why add the word emotional to concern? If a person's concerned, they're concerned. Okay. What I want you to do right now, forget the concept of emotional, physical, spiritual, intellectual. Can you throw them away? There's no parts to a person. It's just a person. If they're concerned, they're concerned. It's not an emotional concern. Okay, because emotion means that which goes in, that which goes out. And the word emotion is based on the word motion with an interactive E in the beginning of it. Okay. Get into the taking your words to pieces as well, so that you're making sure you don't use those old-fashioned, unfortunate terminology of splitting a person into 4. Okay. That splitting a person into 4, unfortunately, it does go with almost all tarot books. It says emotional, physical, spiritual, and intellectual, as if in some way that's not the person. But we've got to define one in difference to the other. That's just not true. And it's in some way, it's another one of those segmenting or sectioning or partitioning up of a person or a culture or a society into the smallest increments, which in this particular case needs to be gone. This is one of the beauties of this way of teaching, is that all of those things go. We've got to break those patterns open. This is why I moved to Melbourne, to break all that shit. You know, it's really 60s. Which, no offense to anybody born when I was born, but it really is. We had to think emotional, physical, spiritual, and intellectual to do with pentacles and cups and swords and wands, and it just is so destructive. Yeah, to partition a person. So yeah, no, it's not. That my eye moves from the Page of Cups to the King of Cups. And that's my indication, and it's particularly with the sword sitting in the sphere of Gevera, and the 5 of Pentacles, that's a particular compassion of a person who's focused on family, and I'm making certain that the people that they care about are fed. And that's why they're doing this. It's also, they may want to do it anyway, which it could be any one of you wanting to go read tarot in the markets, any one of you wanting to go read tarot at the festival, okay? You do need to take into consideration family and family issues. Yes? And at the same time, with that Knight of Pentacles, it says you're quite capable of doing it. It's going to be done. And it's also really interesting, if I was, for example, I mentioned earlier about my offspring being in a separate room, okay? Give me the child, I'll show you the man. Give me the child, I'll show you the woman. And so what you're doing as an individual, the person that this is for, as an individual, by being so organized and so proactive with the preparation for being able to work in a public space, is they are showing their child, living or even unborn, doesn't matter. They're getting themselves in a position where they are not, for example, mum who stays at home and cooks the fucking dinner. Mum works. That's what mum does. Papa works. That's what Papa does. Okay? And always is the understanding that children need to know or watch or observe and understand that. And I think it's a very beautiful thing when a child is able to be in a position of interacting with a person. I mean, I think of Kim Marla. Kim Marla was my stage manager on Jesus Christ Superstar 1 and 2 and a few other productions. And Jessie Lee was Kim Marla's daughter, and she was 3 or 4 years of age when we started working together. And when Kim Marla called out quiet on the set, Jessie Lee would call out quiet on the set. That child would sit there with her arms closed through the whole fucking rehearsal and not do anything. So that there was this understanding that they would grow up to do that. Of course, their child is now a woman who's a jazz musician. But that understanding of theatre and the understanding that this is mama's workplace, this is parents' workspace, was there from the very beginning. So it's part of the child's ethic, is a respect for what they're observing and understanding. So there's no need to mention the Page of Cups and the King of Cups. I mean, there's nothing to say don't. But it really doesn't matter because, yes, it's consciousness. So now if we can look at this, this is a new sentence, by the way.
Insert pause.
Pause. Now what we're looking at in this particular instance is the human body.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm interested to see how you...
There is nothing in this spread whatsoever to indicate anything to do with health. The only thing to do with the human body is the Page and the King of Cups. So there's this continuum of connection to a water sign person, Pisces, Cancer, or Scorpio, or a person to whom that your client loves. Yep.
Yep.
That's the consideration, because also when we look in this instance I do look at this as a body. So the Knight of Wands is the feet,
yep,
the shins, and the knees, and the quadriceps, and the hamstrings.
So they feel strong.
It's not even mentioned in this. I'm just going to give you the information. There's nothing to do with physical body in this.
Okay. And why would you know that? Like
this is in QOPH, QOPH. Back of consciousness is an awareness that I would also be perhaps looking for anything that was health related. So within the first second of laying out that spread, I'm going to know whether there's a health related issue, and there isn't one. Okay. Nothing to do with their physicality. So we're just changing the subject for the sake of this, which is great. So the sphere of Malkut is feet, shins, calves, knees, quadriceps, hamstrings. Okay, where the Page of Cups falls, which is Yesud, is gluteus maximus, genitals, colon, lower gut. I don't know whether you're writing that down. You can do it later anyway. Now, there's no absolute certainty as to whether you are looking at a mirror image or whether you are doing transference. You'll know on the day. So if I'm looking at a mirror image, that the sphere of Hood is associated with the left hip.
Yep.
And that'll include that all the organs around the left hip would include the sciatic nerve. Okay, and the same, the right hip and up under the right rib cage is associated with Netzach. When I'm looking at the Tiferet, now this is where it gets interesting. It's the whole of your internal organs, your heart, your lungs, the stomach, the pancreas. So if you haven't got a good hold on anatomy, please get hold of it. All of your internal organs. That also will include aspects of the spine. And also, for example, if we go a little bit lower to where the Page of Cups is in the Sphere of Yesod, if you've got a Ten of Swords there, that can very often be a sciatic dysfunction. Because we're working with the lower back and where the nerves at the base of the spine spread out through the legs. Okay, it's really good to have a look at the images of the nervous system through of a human body, because that'll be a benefit to you as well. So when you're looking at the Chariot and when you're looking at Chesed and Gevurah, you're looking again still at the center of the body, but you're also including the hands, the forearms, the elbows, your upper arms.
Would we be diaphragm there, or like?
Oh, that's in the middle of your body, of course. Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
All that, the lungs, the diaphragm, or your kidneys are included in that area. And the kidneys will also show up as Gevurah in Chesed, by the way, because they're two separate aspects of the body. So they will show up as this kidney dysfunction there. With art, which is ruled by Pluto, it's here. The throat, the back of the neck, all that area. The atlas bone can include the shoulders, but that's also going to be Binah and Chokmah are included in the shoulders and the back of the neck, and also this area is going to include teeth. Oh, I see fucking teeth situations here all the time. And that'll include things like the ears, because your TMJ is going to turn up there. If a person's got a problem with TMJ, that'll turn up to do with where they're in Binah or in Chokmah. So it's just that area of the head. and also the ears. Sometimes the shoulders will sit in those areas as well. So if I've got a tower sitting in one of those areas, it could, if there's health issues other places, and it's the tower sitting in Binah or the tower sitting in Chokmah, I'm automatically going to look towards that person's head or their shoulders. And I've seen people's frozen shoulders right there, in those two. Yeah. Now that Keter is both Kof and Resh in your letters. Both Kof is associated with the moon card, and Resh, I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, it's got to do with the sun card. These are letters we haven't even got into. Don't worry, I can't cover everything that's associated with this in fucking 10 weeks. But with Kof and Resh is the non-conscious. I don't like the term unconscious because it's not unconscious. It's just, we get a background feeling. It's interesting because I could actually say that my gut and the back of my consciousness, or the softer consciousness, the unrealized consciousness, it's like the gut. It's the same thing. So it's like you get a gut feeling. It's back here, metaphorically speaking. The Resh is the front of consciousness, so it's you're very aware. It's there, up in front. As such, also what falls in the sphere of Tiferet will affect the eyes. I wouldn't like to see, for example, a devil card in that sphere, because the person quite likely is going to get a brain tumor. Is that always? No. Again, it's going to depend on what's around it. But there will be indicators as to why there's a dysfunction there. Tarot is not going to make you guess. When the time comes, it's not going to make you guess. It'll just ask you to be able to see deeply enough. Yeah? The utilization of Resh and Kof, sun and moon. So they're the physiological aspects, and because this map in front of us with Sarah, whoever it happens to be in the whole room, because it could be anybody in the fucking room here with us, that's why I'm mixing up the Page of Cups, which is down here, yeah, in this area of my body, with Resh Kof, the consciousness of head, or the idea of head, is that I'm thinking about this person. And then it may not mean that they're pregnant with this person, because there's no indication on that spread, on that map of pregnancy. There's no indication of birth at all. So it's someone that they've got that affects their gut and affects their consciousness. And that's usually a family member or a loved one. And therefore, there's no need to necessarily mention them, but just be aware of them. Okay, you will tell your client that they will be very aware of any influence on their family or family members. But at the very beginning, until you've probably done this for a few decades, it's not a good idea to give advice. To say you should and you shouldn't, you should, no, don't do that. Just tell them what it is. So this is a person, obviously, who's going to work in a festival or a market scenario and will do so brilliantly because they're so fucking organised. And that's the way I'd read that spread, just like that. Yep. I wouldn't worry about anything else.
Yep.
Coolidge. Questions? Any questions? Kate, Sarah.
Amazing. Nice job, Kate.
Okay, you're putting them away. When you finish putting them away, just close the cards off by giving them a shuffle. Look, each time looking at what's in the bottom. Look what's down the bottom. Okay, wait until something comes up that you like. Always look. With every time you move the cards, look. I can't see your hand, so it's not helping. That's nothing.
Waiting.
Show me again. That's a nice one. What about that? Okay, close them off, stick them in the box. Let's swap it around so that you're going to work with Kate. And so, Ari, if you can put the spoon on Kate.
Sorry.
So again, this is appropriate to someone in the room, but it's not saying who.
It's going to be bad light.
But the lighting is very tricky.
Yeah, I'm just moving. Oh,
darling.
Kate.
Put me on a leash. Come on. Okay. Well, no, you're shuffling the cards without you having been asked to do that. You know nothing about this. So,
sorry.
Hey, Kate, can I get you to shuffle the cards? And can you remind me what your star sign is, please?
Capricorn.
Okay, so show up in the spread. You're going to...
No, stop. Tell them what person they're going to be when they turn up.
If you turn up in the spread, you will be a person of an air sign. Oh, sorry. Brain. Pentacles. A person of Pentacles.
Just tell them what to do. Don't allow your client to be left to wonder.
Okay, as soon as you've finished shuffling the cards, can I get you to place one facing me, as close to me as you can do? Yep, perfect. And now can I get one directly above that? Now can I get one to your left, but just slightly...
Not to their left at all.
Oh, sorry, to your right.
Now, you must also tell the person that they are to turn the cards upright facing you, because the person is doing that without knowing that they're supposed to do that. Sarah?
Okay, sorry about that.
So you just need to keep your eyes open and explain to them what to do as each card turns over. Please, Kate, don't preempt what your reader is suggesting to you.
Copy.
Can I get the next card opposite the one you've just laid to your left? No, your left.
Left of center. Just say left of center.
Left of center. Thank you. Now can I get one in the middle, slightly above?
Center.
Center.
Right of center.
Right of center.
Left of center.
Left of center.
Right of center.
Center. Left of center, and then one center.
Don't worry about the then one. Just say at the top in the center.
And then can I get one on a diagonal in the space?
Can you hear how many words you're using that you don't need to?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you see them all?
Yep.
I can't see the top ones very well.
I'm just going to try and lift that up a bit more. Is that better?
Yep. Thank you.
This is going to fuck you up.
Is the top right one? Sorry. Yeah. What's that card there?
8 of Cups.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll be quiet for a minute. Sarah, Sarah, are you having a freak out yet?
Yes. Okay, so central thing. Oh, holy. I'm either saying
I'll tell you again, there's nothing about health mentioned in here.
okay.
But it doesn't say there's nothing about physicality. It just said there's nothing to do with the person's health that's of issue here. I mean, I could tell you, but it's one big flat slab of information.
Oh!
Saved by the bell. Oh my goodness, that's so funny.
That gives everybody time to readjust themselves after seeing that.
Is it only a literal death if the...
Don't ask me. That's not what we're not doing that. Devil card wasn't there.
It's just changed. She's changed the whole theme going on now.
No, let me just make sure I get them in the right spot.
Yeah.
So there was actually a death card instead
The middle
of
was
card.
yeah.
Thank you.
Is it that way?
No, the other way.
No, the other way around.
Sorry.
Was there 9 of Cups crossing? And this there was. Okay, all right. So
Cups.
so you got to read this as a whole. If you try to give me is this that, you're going to actually fuck up. This is a very straightforward statement. I can hear you saying I'm lost, Sarah.
I'm a little lost.
Okay, so if I'm reading this for a person, the first thing I'm going to say to that person is, have you arranged everything that's necessary to do with either your own or a parent's death? Because it needs to be done beforehand, so there's no shit fight when it comes down to the actual will or the legacy. So the necessity of end of life preparation is a very important phenomenon. What happens if there's not enough money for a funeral? What happens if there's not enough money for the coffin? What happens to do with the physical corpse, the flesh and blood corpse? Okay, because if it's not taken care of course, the shit's going to, all those three at the top are going to be the outcome. Are they going to be the outcome anyway? If your client is able to do as much as they can to deflect the outcome when death occurs, that means that they are actually going to be there and watch the way the family misbehaves. Now, your client is either going to be one of two things. They're either going to be the executor of the estate or they're coming up for their own death. And they don't want to leave the concept of death to chance. Now, the concept of death to chance particularly, and I will mention the fact that the Justice card's on the table, the concept of death, if the Justice card wasn't there, everything would be left to chance and it would just be a shit fight. And again, notice I'm not mentioning the King of Pentacles and I'm not mentioning the Page of Swords. I don't need to. I just take them into consideration. I want to look at the big picture in this instance. And this has got to do with a person who wants to be able to organize the death appropriately for themselves or their parent. The focus, of course, is death. Now, look at your key. Look at the fucking key.
Yeah.
Nothing about this is saying that it's not going to end up being terrible and horrible. It is. And yes, it's really important to tell your client as such. But end of life, that's the World card. What are we when we turn into a corpse and when we become we just compost down, don't we? Yeah. So the World card in this instance is telling us what we're made of. Elements, bugs, bacteria, sinew, tissue that discorporates, everything that disintegrates, all of that. And the Strength card just backs that up. And the death card just simply says everybody fucking dies. I'm going to die. So do I have somebody who's power of attorney who won't put me in a nursing home? Do I have somebody who's executive to my estate who can make certain that my will is followed through with? Absolutely. Is there any money associated with that? No. So things need to be adjusted to be able to make certain that this would be the perfect example of as an example, not as a reality, but as a reality, or even as an example. This is a situation for this week. I spoke to my son, who's up in the north, who's got himself a property in Inman Rocks. I said, oh, good, I want to die in your arms and be buried on that property in a fetal position facing east. And he goes, well, that's sorted. No, absolutely, that's sorted. It's a discussion. I mean, there's people in this room who've had dealings with physical death of either parents, loved ones in the last 12 months. You are going to see time and time again, every fucking week you're going to see somebody's got somebody dying in their family. You're just going to sit there and go, I can't read this because the death card's staring me in the fucking face? No. You're going to tell them death is the central theme of this particular reading, this particular map. Now, this is what we do about it. And they'll say, is it me? So you could say it could be. It's not saying who it is, because it isn't.
If it was saying
it is showing an adversary.
Sorry.
It is showing an adversary. Who's the adversary?
Is it the King of Pentacles?
Yes.
Yeah. How do you know that's an adversary? Just because it's in the family sphere?
It's not just in the family sphere, it's in the sphere of Mars.
Oh, okay.
Geberat. So there can also be someone that's fighting with you or arguing with you or in conflict with you or in disagreement with you. There's no love showing up in there.
No.
There's no love anywhere on the table. This is not about love. This is about the practicalities of a will.
How does the Nine of Cups fit in there?
What do you want? How do you want to be buried?
That's okay. So that's your wishes for.
Absolutely, that's it. How do you want this done? If this was for a person's mother, what does she want? What does she fucking want?
Okay.
Okay. If a person's power of attorney, justice card, mother, daughter, any of those familial relationships, what does that person want? How do you want it done? Do you want it to be a beautiful thing? What do you want the fucking church there intoning over the top of your dead body while you're put into a coffin that costs $15,000 fucking dollars and is going to cost your family for the next 3 years? They're paying off a debt that's associated with a fucking funeral parlor. The greatest blood suckers outside of insurance companies. So all of this comes very close when I look at those. Those are things, and they're things that I would be telling a client.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that person who's going to face that, this will be exciting for them when they hear about it a year from now, when they find out that they're going to die in 6 months, when they find out that their mother's got a terminal illness, or their daughter, or whoever the justice card is all about. It's a preparation, or a loved one, anyone that they love. The preparation is in the justice card.
Yeah.
And the focus is the Nine of Cups. And once that's all sorted out, then the sickness, look at the Nine of Swords, then the disappointment, the Eight of Cups. I don't know about any of you, but I've seen a fuck ton of fucking funerals, and I've seen a fuck ton of families go into fights, shit fights afterwards over who left Auntie Joan what. And so many people have said to me, I didn't think it was going to happen. I thought it would be peaceful. I thought it would be okay. And everybody wants a piece of the action afterwards. And instead of having like a Native American potlatch before you die, where you go, here, have it all. Okay. 1:45, I'm booked out now. Started at 8 a.m. Okay. That was shady. Instead of it being a potlatch, which in our society, it would be wonderful. People get together, they get all their possessions, and they go, I'm giving it all away. I'm going to be spending the next several years of my internment in a teepee, and I don't need anything except my fire pit and my bedroll. So if it's given away beforehand, you never have this shit fight go down. But what you've got with this spread is a person who knows there's going to be a shit fight. They can't avoid it, but they can do absolutely everything they can to make certain that it goes their way. Well done. Map done.
Thank you.
So close them. Shuffle until you get the one on the bottom you like. Look at it each time you do a shuffle. Look. Oh, lovely. Beautiful one to finish on, isn't it? Okay. So, who's...
I've got a question. Sorry. About closing with a shuffle with the card on the bottom. What's the reason for that?
Just because I like to leave it on something pleasant before I put them away.
That's what I assumed.
My way of saying thank you to tarot is to go, ooh, that's nice. And it's also a little weird superstition that says if I put the really, really nice card on the bottom, that's going to be my destiny.
Cool. I like it.
Yeah, works. Do we have 2 more people? Just put your hands up. Just come on in. Anisha's ready. Shell's ready. Okay. The spotlight will be on Anisha, and Shell, you're going to be reading for Anisha. Thank you. Just while you're getting prepped, remember, Shell, to guide your client through every stage of the setting up.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yep.
I've never done one of these spreads before, so let's see what happens. Okay, would you shuffle your cards, please? And what's your star sign, please?
Taurus.
Taurus, thank you. So you'll be a pentacles or coins person when you show up.
A person of pentacles.
Oh,
you don't know their gender preferences.
Okay.
And this is for an entire other discussion at some stage to do with what is the quality of a king? What is the quality of a queen? I mean, I think it's quite rude that they're called that, and that there seems to be the potential or theoretical qualities for a bloke and theoretical qualities for a woman. And I think this is really important. We're at an age, Glenn.
Okay. Okay. Anisha, when you're ready, would you please place a card in the center closest to me? Thank you. And one above that. And one to your right of center.
The first thing I want to say to you is that the person concerned is their cards are too close, or too far away from you.
Yeah, okay. So is there a way you can bring the cards closer? Actually, I can still see that bottom king. Yes.
That better?
It is better.
Keep going.
Keep telling them. Yeah, keep going. One to the right of center, please. And one to the left of center. And then one in the center again. And then one to the right of center above that, left of center.
Okay, now what you want to tell them to move the Knight of Swords down towards their computer more.
Okay,
more.
So move the Knight of Swords down more. Yes, thank you, toward me.
Because you want those pages now to be further up on either side of the strength card. Look at your map, Shell. You haven't got it in front of you? No, don't, please don't move those cards around at this stage, Anisha. Do not move the cards around. Shell's not looking at her map.
No. Would you please... Sorry, Laura, I'm
okay, I'll explain.
Rabbit in the spotlight.
Basically, Anisha, if you can move both both cards on the left-hand pillar up further towards you. More. Okay, more. Okay, overlap the ones on both sides because you're going to run out of space. Put the strength card halfway across the bottom card of the Knight of the Swords.
Ah, yes.
Okay, move the Queen if that's it down. Now you're sitting a little bit. All right.
Okay.
Next card is to the right of center.
Next card to the right of center, next to the left.
So
one right up
a room, so overlap the card.
Yes, one right up the top toward you. And yeah, overlap those top cards over the ones just beneath them a little on the edges. Thank you. And one last card in the center crossing on an angle over the two top cards. Right. Okay.
Anisha, I'm going to keep my mouth shut for the moment. Anisha knows why. Now, what's the first thing you notice, Shell?
I'm noticing Anisha right smack bang in the center, or I'm presuming it may be Anisha, but being that person of pentacles in the middle.
You tell your client, I can see you center to everything.
Okay, Anisha, I see you center to everything. Right down the
Look
bottom.
at your pattern. Don't go in, let your eyes look at the pattern. There's a very strong pattern in here.
And I believe, well, I may be seeing children around you.
That's not the pattern.
It's not the pattern.
This is what I'm talking about. You let your eyes, let's dot on the piece of paper. When you move your eyes around, there's a pattern.
Oh, I'm looking for the pattern, but just...
The pattern is World card, 5 of Cups, 6 of Swords, 3 of Cups.
World card, how is that a pattern, please? World card, 5 of Swords.
That's what I want you to find.
Oh, I'm just feeling very rabbit in the spotlight here and drawing a blank. So world card in the center. We have the strength in a similar position as
No, forget about the strength card. That's not part of your pattern at this stage in time. There's more information but the pattern in here is really interesting. And even to a degree, the pattern of the 2 of Swords is interesting to do with the main theme.
So the 2 of Swords in Mars, and this is me thinking out loud. You deciding what to do about a situation.
No, it's the exact opposite. She's indecisive. Okay. 2 of Swords is indecision, remember.
Okay, so I didn't word that very well.
It also may be that which is not seen, because the 2 of Swords is also that which is not seen, and in Gevurah that can represent family or clan that is not seen. So therefore, those those 4 cards in the pattern make absolute fucking sense. And you've even got a time sequence on the table.
Well, the time sequence would be the Page of Wands.
No, it isn't.
No? Okay. I'm looking, no 4 of Swords, no 3. The Page of Swords, would that be a time sequence? And the 6 of Swords.
No.
Well, the top is looking challenging, seeing the difficulty around the top areas of the cards, so around Binah and Hokmah.
It's not the top. It's the furthest away. Please don't go top and bottom. I'll slap you.
Okay. So furthest away.
But it's the most dominant. Therefore, it's not there today. But it could be there in 4 weeks or 4 months with that Four of Pentacles.
The 4 of Pentacles. Okay, I didn't make a connection of the 4 of Pentacles being a potential time sequence.
Yeah, see, sometimes I'll give you the definition and awareness of the planetary aspects, but when we're dealing with this particular map, you're dealing with an entire philosophy to do with Kabbalah. One that I can't go down because that's one of the paths that we discussed actually several weeks ago to do with the more magical aspects of this. Mm-hmm. There's such profundity that this is why I wanted you to explore this spread today, this map today, because even though it's used as a prophetic tool, it needs you to look a lot deeper. And this is what I would consider to be the spine of a reading. Need you to look a lot deeper. What this person is going to do very centrally is respond to a humanitarian crisis. That's what they're going to do. If you can't see that, you're not looking. Because the one thing I'm very aware of with that Queen of Pentacles, or that person of Pentacles in the center, is that they are centered. Bear in mind, they are centered. That's a really profound place to see self. Can you understand that person is normally where we're jiggering towards other people's needs, other people's desires, what people like, what people don't like, trying to please, trying not to please, trying to infiltrate, trying. When a person falls centered, they are not trying.
Mm-hmm.
This is who they are.
Yes.
So what they're doing, then now my eyes will flip down to the Knight of Swords and see they're doing it quickly. It's going to happen quickly. Okay. But they're so completely focused. They do know enough about health and physicality to be able to do that. They're strong enough because that's a strength card, okay, to respond to that huge crisis, which is up the top. Now, that could be simple as it's not saying if it's a flood, an earthquake, a fire, or what it is, but what there is falling in the sphere of Binah is deep grief. Now, that can be a community where there's death occurred. That can be a community that's burnt out by fire. That can be Haiti after the last fucking hurricane. Okay, that can be sort of New Orleans after Katrina. This can be what's happened in the southeast of Queensland when there's floods. Doesn't matter to now because you're not there yet. But what that person is doing is responding quickly to that scenario, and they will be with a good crew.
Yes, which is right up the top and then into the world there.
Watch the one little twist in this.
Well, I'm not liking the grief aspect of this.
No, it doesn't matter what you're feeling. The one twist in this is the fact that we've got the World card and the Six of Swords that tells me that person's vaccinated because they can go overseas on the smell of it.
Ah, okay.
You
and
take
the World card.
into account what's happening on the world stage today.
Yes, and the World card would suggest.
Not even that. It's the fact that it's not that you don't have to take any cards here. You just look at the pattern of the Knight of Swords, the World card, the Five of Cups, the Six of Swords, and the Three of Cups, and that tells you that person can act immediately into a crisis situation that is over water. They may very well be associated with something like Médecins Sans Frontières. They could be like one of my buddies who's up in the Cairns area who's a frontline nurse and she's working with the military. She gets deployed just like that to Easter Island, to Rapa Nui, to Manus Island. Really, I mean, a good example, one of my clients is a torture counsellor. She gets deployed like that. Okay? So she's sent to parts of Africa. She's sent to Afghanistan. She goes to Iraq. She's right in the fucking front line of torture. She works on Manus Island. She works on with the detention centres, for example. This would be a perfect example of her spread. She's ready. She's primed. She's there. She's gone. She's with like-minded others. She's not getting hurt. And she knows her job really fucking well. So even though you're reading for the Queen of Pentacles in this situation, which does seem as if you're working with a person that's in front of you as the Queen of Pentacles, Anisha, it may not be that person's cards. But this is very definitely the spread of a frontline worker. I don't even take into consideration that they may have kids. I don't even consider the pages in this instance because they're not showing up as... They're almost, because they're left and right like that, what they are is... it's like having a Rottweiler on the left of you and a Rottweiler on the right of you. Those kids know what the fuck's going on. You don't need to take the spheres into consideration. You don't need to take the planets into consideration, okay? Because where the person of Pentacles sits in the middle, you've got those two kids, you've got the strength card. Look at the diamond shape. That diamond shape.
Yes,
Powerful,
okay, I can see that.
Okay? It doesn't even say what age their kids are. It's completely irrelevant. It's that there are young people associated with this. They are your backup. It's like having an Uzi on every fucking hip. I'd tell that person their kids are like an AK-47. Yeah? So look at your shapes as well.
Yes.
Those four at the top, very, very important ones. Okay. There is an indication very strongly with that Two of Swords that it's elsewhere. And the Two of Swords, which indicates they don't see the people, clears up when we see the Three of Cups because they're with them.
Yes. Okay.
Who that's for, you can tell me in about a month's time. But it's definitely somebody who's very, very focused and very centered, and that person I would have no worries about telling this person that they're going to deploy to a situation. It may have nothing to do with military, because there's no saying that. But what it is, that Five of Cups is the deepest grief that does happen with Hurricane Katrina, with the bushfires that happened last year. So it's a whole big deal. Okay, so it talks about that world in grief. Not the world in grief, but that world to which they go is in grief. That will indicate that the drama is already over. But, you know, I was watching a doco the other night on the Blitz in London in the Second World War. And the people wandering around looking at where their houses used to be. Fucking summer. Can you see it now, Shell, now that we talk?
I can.
It's like, yeah, isn't it? It's...
Yeah.
And it's okay, because once you've seen it, it's how prepared are you to take yourself into the situation of saying it like it is. And without even, there's no guesswork involved. And this is what I'd like you all to understand, that none of this is guesswork. You need to take a deep breath and dive into each of these maps, knowing that what you're seeing is appropriate, is correct. Yep.
I can see it when I break it into two, but I don't know that I'm supposed
You're not breaking
to
anything
do
in
that
two.
when
You're looking
when
at the
I
whole
look-
thing. And you're calculating when you're looking at the whole thing. You're not breaking it in two. You're calculating your images, your patterns, your designs, the whole works. It is a calculation based on your humanitarianism.
Yes.
Yep. According.
Yes.
Okay, stick them together.
Yep.
Please make certain that that you have a shuffle and you've got a card at the bottom that you like. And I will go pee, and then we'll get on to the next two. Just let me know who's next. I'll say it. Sharon and Nishka, you're next. Yep. Okay, I'll be back in a second.
I left it at Ace of Pentacles.
Pardon?
I left the last card on the, after shuffling, Ace of Pentacles.
Okay, that's nice. Bit of money. Okay, so you there, Ari?
Sure am.
Can we spotlight Sharon?
She's already spotlighted.
Okay, Nishka's got you're gonna read for Sharon. Yep. Okay. So Sharon, we need you to put your screen down so that we can see your workspace, and make sure you straighten up that bloody sheet. When I'm doing Skype, one of the first things I do, because I've got a Virgo moon, is say make it neat. I don't want to have to bother with things going messy.
Sharon, could you please unmute your yourself? Nope. There you go. Oh, one more time.
Yes. Also, Nishka, let her know that the camera's too close to the workspace.
Sharon, your camera's too close to the workspace.
I don't know that I can get it any further. Let's see. Hold on. Will that work?
Nishka, answer her.
We can give it a go. We can,
Okay.
Nishka, let her move the pen and piece of paper out of the way.
Please move the pen and paper out of the way. Thank you. A little bit of red thing and.
Can you get rid of my chart here?
You don't need to see that pattern, Sharon, because you're the client here. Please get all that paperwork out of the way, off the desk. Thank you. You can be straightforward with your clients and not muck them around by being all sweet and coochie-coo. They won't appreciate it. They do like to be given instructions that are really clear. Okay, over to you.
Okay. All right there, Sharon. I'll have you start by shuffling the deck of cards. And when you've what's your sign? What is your star sign, Sharon?
Virgo.
All right, that will make you a person of Pentacles.
Very often, by the way, people will just keep shuffling, and they'll just keep shuffling, and they'll just keep shuffling, and I'll say to them, "I'm not going to tell you what to do. So when you finish, you just finish." Because they will. They'll just keep doing it until
going and going and going. Okay, Sharon, we're going to start with the first card closest to your computer. Go ahead and flip the card up and place it so that we can see it. You can scooch it a little bit closer to the computer, please. Thank you. Okay, and the second card just what do I say, above that. Card to the right of center. And card to the left of center. Okay.
Ask her to move them up a little bit.
Yeah, scooch them.
Not down, up.
Towards you, just a bit, please. I think it's. Oh! You move the two cards on the sides.
Yeah,
look. Yes.
Messy.
Yeah, the center.
Move the two cards in the center closer to the computer, please.
Yeah.
The two cards in the center. Sharon.
That's it. There you go. A little bit more, please, with that center. Yep. There we go. That's sweet. Okay, and now a center card on the center line, and to the right of center, and to the left of center, and yeah, thank you. We're going to be overlapping the cards a little bit to make enough space.
You've already done that. Just keep talking.
To the right of. Oh no, that's all right. To the right of center, please. Above in the left, other side, other right. Thank you. Left of center. There you go. That's it. All right. One right up top. Yep. And one crossing in that mid space. Yeah, thank you very much.
Well, yuck.
Well, we got love in the center.
Don't talk out loud.
Sorry.
What's the first thing that you're looking at holistically?
The upper left corner, her left side. Lungs, maybe.
No.
Eye.
No. First thing that you're looking at is the Person of Cups.
Why? Because it's in...
Because it's about them. It's not about your client.
Right. Because they're concerned about, or they've
It could be your daughter. It's not about your client. It's about the Person of Cups.
Okay. Yeah, I was so caught up in other places. I hadn't even really seen her clearly yet. So this reading is about the Person of Cups. And
yeah, the reading is for the Virgo person, but it may not be about, because it could be anybody in the room. But the point is, it's about the Person of Cups because they dominate this map. They're in the sphere of Netzach, and they're also sitting there in the sphere of Da'at. See, so it's about, they're dominating this map.
It's the same person. It wouldn't be.
It's the same person. And it's got every indication that it's the daughter of the person that whoever's being read for. Page of Cups falls in the sphere of Netzach. Love, sexuality, intimacy, feminism, femininity, eroticism, sexuality, gender, very often. And when you you put that with the Queen of Cups, in this particular instance, you're necessarily talking about what's called a cisgender woman. But the person concerned would know her from childhood all the way through to womanhood, or is hoping they'll get to womanhood. Okay, why?
Why? Because it's in the sphere of Da'at.
No. Look at the whole lot. Why are they hoping? Because the sphere of Da'at, that's the woman.
They're concerned about this woman.
There is a concern.
Mm-hmm.
It may be the concern about the child, the daughter. Are they going to get to womanhood? Are they going to get to adulthood?
Well, if we see the woman there, it's unknown, right? Da'at is unknown.
It's unknown. Thank you. So what are the concerns that we're looking at?
Well,
okay, let me just give you a bit of a hint. One of the problems that we have holistically, and some of you who haven't had offspring don't understand this, but you need to understand this when you're working with people who have offspring, is that we can't switch off the love. We can hate them, but we still love them. We can have complete and absolute no communication, but we still fucking love them. What's also a detriment very often to parents is loving our kids, because we let them get away with shit. Now, my concern here would be very much the Strength card, which is the person's gut. So is there an indication with the Four of Swords and the Devil card that there is type 2 diabetes in the family, or the equivalent thereof? Yes, obviously. And the Six of Swords says, how long can this be allowed to go on for? Because look at the Wheel of Fortune, the pattern set in family.
Oh, wow.
The routine, the pattern set in family. Let's get pizza on a Friday night. Let's get pizza on a Friday night. There is an indication that there may very well be addictive things in the family. That could be junk food. That could be Coca-Cola. That could be fucking booze and alcohol and drugs and pot. Cigarettes. All of that's indicated with your devil card.
Yeah.
So my foundation, my mind goes like a fucking arrow right down to that Knight of Pentacles and says, you better sort things out to do with this kid. Right here, right now, this year. They're taking care of business. TCB, absolutely, to do with the practicalities of the elements of Earth herself. Yeah?
Yeah. I actually really can see this one. So
I know you
can't fucking see. I have to be honest. I'm like it's not always clear, but this one I can really. I'm like, oh.
It's because that the exquisiteness of the Nine of Pentacles. Yeah.
What's up with that?
It's like what that person who loves wants to take it. The Knight of Pentacles. The Nine of Pentacles, to be able to create a really quality outcome to that Page of Cups, this has to be undertaken. The understanding of the gut. Yeah? The physicality, the blood and guts and bone of the Strength card. That Strength card is so strong. That's in absolute opposition to the Four of Swords, which is laying around fucking doing nothing, looking at their screens all day.
Ooh.
And the Devil card over there, which is not even realizing that they're just filling themselves full of Coca-Cola, which of course is addictive because they've got a sugar addiction, perhaps.
I was thinking overgrowth in the gut, like that when you said gut. I was.
No, it's just going straight to the gut being the gut is an entirety within itself.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, the microbiome, as we've said before, is 2.4 billion years of ancestral DNA.
Yeah.
And if the gut goes out, the whole thing goes out. Okay. You look at the family history in there with the Knight, with the family history is pretty important. That's in the sphere of Gevurah with the Wheel of Fortune. And that also can indicate an intergenerational disposition towards health problems associated with the gut. And I bang straight up to the fucking Devil card and the Four of Swords and I go, yep, there it is. Okay, got it. Particularly even with the Ten of Cups opposite. You know, this is the situation where somebody who's overweight, who is pre-diabetic, comes and sits in front of you and lets their kids eat out of the cupboard, the same stuff, and don't know that white flour and white sugar and all these packaged goods is going to kill them, is going to make them sick. They don't know that they can actually reverse their health problem. But now they find out, and now they know, which is the Knight of Pentacles, they go ahead and do what they've got to do. And sometimes fuck love hurts. Which is that Ace of Cups.
I'm still
this is
feeling...
Go.
Oh, I was just the six of Swords. Like, yeah.
Don't take too much notice of every card.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, that can just be the fact where we're dealing with even though your client is coming through as a Virgo, we're dealing in here with a water sign person. And the fact that you've got a Six of Cups there is just a piece of information like water.
Yeah.
You know, water.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, water and yeah, totally.
Yeah, so don't get caught anywhere. The really strong factors, you know, Knight of Pentacles, that Wheel of Fortune and your family. What is the family history of disease for the person concerned? How do they have to take into consideration what happens intergenerationally? Do they have this is the kind of a thing where I'd say, are your ancestors from a slave class? Or were they Irish and chucked out during the famine years? And did your father drink lots and lots of booze to switch off? I would actually go into conversation like that with the person. And they go, whew, you can fucking see that shit?
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking.
Because that refinement that comes with that Nine of Pentacles is a direct result of both the Ace of Cups and the Strength card. That person is going to fix this shit. That person is going to fix this up, and they're going to do it even though they're, I mean, it doesn't say that the kid is going to chuck numbers or whatever else down the line, but the person knows that they're with the Ace of Cups. Ace of Cups is not always, as Kyle Gibran says, as love crowns you, so shall he crucify you. It is not always pleasant. Okay? It's the person who goes back to get their dog out of the fucking fire and risks their lives for their Doberman. Do you understand? This is what love is. It's not about coochie-coo. It's that sheer power. Yeah? And we don't know. There could have been a tsunami in Bali that killed a whole fucking group of people. What does Pachamama want? Yeah? So this is how do we understand love? By recognition, by reciprocity, through trusting oneself to be able to follow through. You know, situations. And each one of us, I think that each one of us has so many seemingly chaotic, discordant, upheaval, detrimental, whatever kind of experiences in our lives. And it's like, do I know anybody who reads tarot who's had a peaceful life? Never. Never. Because how else are you going to get the guts and the glory of all the potentials of an experience? Unless you've got somewhere close to that yourself. You'll be ignorant of how to deal with that. And therefore, yes, even though some of you are very young compared to me, yes, what's going to be occurring is that you've got time to be able to have these fucked up scenarios in your life that seem fucked up, but that are actually teaching you. And therefore, there is nobody in this room who can have any regrets, because each piece of is you striving into the next layer, down and down and down into the mycelium. You're to find the nourishment at the very, very center of the earth. That's what you're doing. So yeah, you're looking at here at somebody who's got the potential of very, very traumatic gut problems, but it's already taken care of. The person knows what they're doing. They're going to do it, and they're going to do it on a path with heart. Can we see that now?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not a maybe, because of that Nine of Pentacles. It's not a maybe. Yeah.
What would be a maybe?
No, there's no maybes.
Oh, there's no maybes.
No maybes with tarot.
That's fantastic.
You occasionally could get a 7 of Cups or a 2 of Swords as an outcome, and that's just telling you that the situation is not finished with this map.
Right.
A whole
what
reading.
About like the Lover's card, like the choice hasn't been decided, or the, you know.
But the Lover's card could be schizophrenia, darling.
Oh yeah.
Bipolar disorder.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That was earlier this week.
Yeah. Borderline personality disorder. Yeah. Okay. It could be somebody. If there's a 2 of Cups nearby, it could be somebody with a lover. If there's a Hierophant card, it could be somebody with a lover.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. It can also be a person whose life is divided between family and work, for example, instead of it being, and that should be holistic. That's the problem. Divisionism is a big societal problem at the moment, us and them. The division of person from home. Everybody should work from home. Everybody should work from home. Like we did before the Industrial Revolution. You didn't go off to the fucking office unless you were a cleric for the church before the Industrial Revolution. Or have you all studied your history? And when you've studied your history, can you also study what I consider to be alternative history, which is the absolute knowledge of the indigenous people who were supposedly conquered? To understand their cultures, then you're getting somewhere. But it's also necessary to know enough about health and fitness and medicine to be able to recognize the situation to do with the Strength card and know that it's got to do with gut before you go any further. If, for example, you were sitting up there and you had this is an example only, if you had a tower in the sphere of Mars, that could be appendicitis. Look at the part of the body it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah,
right down the
totally.
bottom.
Yeah.
It's,
But it's
high enough
repetitive
up.
because it's the yeah.
So, okay, Coolidge. So let's stick them together. Put a nice card on the bottom. I'm going to swap it over now.
Oh boy.
Remember, this is probably may not even be about you. You've got to just be aware of that.
I know, but it's still on my bed.
You got a pattern cover.
Well, you said it was all right last week, my darling. Do you want me to move it?
I'm just going to mention it again.
Okay. Well, it's a Dolpo yak blanket, hand woven. So enjoy.
Smart ass.
Just for you, Lord. Just for you.
Sharon, can you? Have you got? Okay, the spotlight's on you, Nishka. Sharon, are you there?
I am here.
Okay.
Okay, Anishka, is that who I'm reading for?
Nishka.
Nishka. Okay,
You
Nishka.
got it.
Would you kindly shuffle your cards, please, and let me know what your star sign is?
I'm a Gemini.
Okay, if you show up in the reading, you may show up as a person of swords. And when you're done shuffling your cards, take the first card out and lay it closest to me in the center. Closest to the camera in the center. And maybe a little higher. Oh, I got what you. Okay, I need one above that, please, in the center.
You're going to need to get her to move them closer to the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah,
One
they're going
to
to
the right.
What's wrong there, Sharon? First off, quickly.
Oh, could you turn your cards so that it's facing the camera? Thank you.
And please
Then
get
I
them
need
to
one
overlap.
Right of center. Your right of center. Left of center. One in the center. A little bit higher, please.
Now, just please look at the cards and get them to move the ones on the left and the right further towards the Knight of Cups.
Yes, could you move the ones on the left and the right a little bit further down, please? Just a little bit. There we go.
They won't know
And
what
another
down
one
is.
to the right, to your right of center. To your left of center. To your right of center again. To your left of center.
Shut up, Ari.
Crowning position. And one diagonal across the middle of those two top center cards. All right, your cards are a little bit more difficult to understand. Is that what is the one that's diagonal?
That's the Hierophant. Oh yeah, they've got no words on them. Ha ha. Can you see them though? I'll turn the light on as well.
Well, I don't see you as a person in this reading. It's about someone that you're concerned about.
Don't worry, you don't have to tell them that.
In your realm.
You know, you don't have
Pardon
to tell them
me?
that. You don't have to say it's in their realm. You're guessing.
Okay. But it's
What's
not
the,
directly
what's the
about
central
you.
theme? What's the central theme? There's two things that are really that you really need to focus on first off.
I see gathering and working.
No, they're not the ones you need to look at all. The ones you need to look at first off is the Ace of Wands and then the Ace of Pentacles.
Okay, so that's love and growth.
No. Stop putting meanings to the cards, darling. Don't do that. Okay. And then the third thing that I'm very aware of course, is the Ace of Cups.
You've got the Ace of Pentacles at the bottom, so yeah. You
The
got
third thing I'm aware of is the Ace of Cups. I've already said the Ace of Pentacles.
Yeah. And is that the Empress card, excuse me, on the upper, on your upper right? On your upper left?
It's a Justice card.
Justice card.
Justice card.
And yeah. I'll leave you fiddle around for a minute there, Sharon, because I've got it. Sometimes I feel like a fucking smart ass. I'll just get that out of the way and say it. But
what was that?
Sometimes I do feel like a smart ass when I'm sitting here with you people. I don't intend to be, but it's just that it's very clear what's being said.
I'm glad you can see it.
Yeah, and there's nothing in here whatsoever to do with physical body or health. Nothing.
I see more communication.
What does that mean?
Um,
No, look at the whole thing, put it together, and the first thing I'm looking at, I mean, apart from the Ace of Wands and the Ace of Pentacles, is that Ace of Cups sitting in the sphere of Hood, which is governed by Mercury. Long and short journeys are spoken in the written word. All forms of
communication, loving communication, right?
Don't say it, just look at it. And then come together with the understanding. The first thing when I see that Ace of Cups there is the fact that I know I'm looking at someone who is really good with words, really, really good with words, because they're obviously going to write a fucking book. And I know what the book's about.
Whoa.
Take your time. I'll give you a name, and the name is an example. The name is Robin Wall Kimmerer.
That means nada to me.
Well, you've got time. Have you got the capacity to switch on your computer and have a little look?
Is that Kimmer as in Chimmer?
No, Kimmerer. Robin, Robin. Wall, Wall. Kimmerer. They will come up at the top of the page. And they will come up with advice as to what their profession is.
Yes.
What is their profession, please?
Mother and scientist, a decorated professor.
Keep going.
Citizen of the Potawatomi Nation.
Potawatomi.
Potawatomi.
Yep, keep going. What have they done that's of significance to the world?
I'll have I'm going to have to expand here. So she wrote a book on braiding sweetgrass, indigenous wisdom, scientific knowledge, teachings of plants and gathering moss.
Point taken.
So we're gathering here with this, and I know I'm not saying this like
words. Just go straight into it, and it's the realization that we are looking at what is the most profound and important resource available to any of us at any time, 24/7 for all of our lives and every generation yet to come.
each other.
No. You're looking at the Three of Cups. Look at the fucking Ace of Pentacles. Change your mind. Who feeds you, darling?
I do.
No, you don't. Earth does.
The Earth does, okay.
Fucking wake up. Spread this wide. Okay, so Earth is the foundation of the security of this reading. The Ace of Cups is the capacity to love, the ability to communicate, spoken and the written word. Obviously, the person knows about language and how to work with language. The central theme is language, the book. The Ace of Wands in this particular instance. I keep focusing across to the Knight or to the King or the person of Wands, but at this particular point in time, all I'm aware of is the fact that I love them. That's all. It doesn't tell me who that person is in relation to your client, but I just love them. And then you move up and you see them with the Ten of Wands. Community. The community gathering, harvest, for example, at the end of summer. Then you look at the Three of Cups, of course. Then you look at the Justice card, which is the kind of a situation where there's either a book that's going to be going straight to book or a film or a production that's going straight to computer, which could be straight to a publisher, an online publisher, rather than avoiding the traditional. There's no structured publisher sitting over there. There's nothing in the sphere of Binar to indicate a structured publisher, is there? No, but there certainly is a contract of sorts, also that can be treaty. That could fall backwards into Australia, where we're looking at the understanding of country.
Could it also be a contract on the book? As in just the
No, but no, no, it's not, because it doesn't fall in the sphere of Binar.
Okay.
Okay, but let's go back and let's say this is Australia, for example, and we look at the whole. This would be, for example, this would be the kind of a thing we'd see for Kim Scott. You don't know who Kim Scott is?
I don't. I'm not an Australian, so don't.
I know you're not an Australian. I know who Benjamin Franklin is, but I'm not American. There's a worldwide lot of people who write amazing stuff, but I do know who Ta-Nehisi Coates is. Do you?
No.
Okay, well, Ta-Nehisi Coates is an American. And this could as easily be Ta-Nehisi Coates' work as Kim Scott's work, as Robin Wall Kimmerer's work, as Arnie Decker-Ness's work. So you see what I'm asking you to do? Do you know what I'm asking you to do? Learn. Everybody here. Spread your fucking knowledge wings out. Don't just keep them limited to your little environments whereby you want to read tarot. Everything, the more you learn about other cultures, other people's ways of viewing the world, etc., and that includes people who are right-wing Nazis, fucking fascists, the more you learn, the more tarot will give you. Okay? So this is definitely the work of someone who is working towards a publication or a group publication. There is a group, for example, this, I look at this and I go, oh, this is associated with the Dark Mountain Project. And if you don't know what the Dark Mountain Project is, you could look that up.
So where does the Fool then fall into this?
Because the Fool, I mean, you just, okay, it doesn't mean anything.
Okay.
See, some things are worth doing without having a desire for an outcome. And if we have a desire for an outcome, doesn't mean that life isn't going to get in the fucking way. That Fool card is a blind card. It doesn't tell you anything. But for people, for example, who are working, I think of Robert McFarlane. Robert McFarlane, for example, who's also part of the Dark Mountain Project. Robert McFarlane and a group of other people, when the 2016 Webster Junior Dictionary eradicated words from acorn to buttercup, dandelion, otter, all of those words were destroyed from their dictionary and replaced with cut and paste. And there was a little bit of like, what the fuck do we do? When the Oxford Junior Dictionary people said, well, children don't go outside anymore, so there's no reason to have these words from the natural environment given to them in a dictionary. So Robert McFarlane and a whole group of others associated with the Rewilding Project went around the world from Orkney to the Ozarks, gathering the lexicons of words associated with place and put them together in a book called Landmarks. Now, I don't expect you to have read all this. And I don't expect anything. But the point is, that's what this is talking about. So that sort of puts anybody and everybody in the room here on the spot going, what do you know? And what happens when you get these so-called bigwigs come sit with you? Are you going to take any notice? All I ever did when Barry Humphries, who was Dame Edna, sat opposite me, was to make sure they were warm enough, because it was a chilly afternoon. So yeah, you'll get everybody from the fucking Queen of England to a criminal turning up in front of you with your cards. You've got to be able to know enough to put that information into the songline of what you're reading. And this is a gatherer, a person who gathers information, knowledge, research. That research in there that sits in the sphere of Gevura is the research of community coming together, of what makes a community, is how does a community work? Will the community provide all the information to put together with, for example, with their recipes to put in the book, which is the Ace of Pentacles? Yes, because the community is celebrating right above them. And the community is celebrating themselves as a culture, even as an indigenous culture, because of course Binar can represent tradition and ancestry. Please don't be disillusioned, but please also be aware the flip side of disillusion is the gathering of information that and then always check your sources. Don't ever take anything off the fucking internet, even though you did just now. The checking your sources is really important, and actually following through and reading the books, reading the information. So this is definitely communal stuff. There is an interesting connection with that Hierophant crossing. Now, how would, with a spread like this, a map like this, how would you relate to the Hierophant without daring to give me the word marriage, because I couldn't stand it if you did?
Tradition.
No.
Ritual.
No. Is that Sharon talking or is that Nishka talking? Because Nishka was supposed to be talking. Okay. No. What's a big background story for every Indigenous person around the world that has influenced or affected the songline of their ancestry that probably went on for about between 40 and 70,000 years? Is a rough guess. What's the one thing that's interfered with that?
Oral teachings?
What?
Oral teachings? Oral
No,
language?
religion.
Well, you didn't want us to talk religion.
Mic drop. Mic drop. That's in the background all the way through, that Hierophant card. It's not doing anything, but it is indicating that this is being considered, because this is their realm of the art. People could say, okay, let's get a really good example, the ghost dance in America. Do you know about the ghost dance?
A little.
Okay. May I suggest that after you find out about Wounded Knee, you then go ahead and find out what the ghost dance is all about?
I know about Wounded Knee, yes.
Okay, in Brazil, has anybody heard of capoeira? Do you know what started capoeira? Okay. In Australia, how has religion affected the First Nation people? In New Zealand, amongst the Maori, how has Christian religion affected Indigenous and ancestral law? In Samoa and the South Sea Islands, how has religion affected the people who've lived there and their ability to walk freely nakedly into the ocean and not feel ashamed? Come on, people. Thank you. Pop them together.
You could gather your cards and shuffle till you find a good one on the bottom.
Who's next in the spotlight?
Could I go? Because I have to leave by 4.
Was that a yes, Artemis?
Oh, the yes. Yeah.
Who's going to work with Artemis?
I'll do it.
Thanks, Ari. Okay, can we spotlight Ari, please, so that Artemis is working on reading Ari's cards first? Thanks, Nishka. Thanks, Sharon. Ari, spotlight yourself, please.
I'm trying to, won't let me do that for some reason.
We've got you.
Oh, it's not, yeah, I don't know. It's not giving me an option to say spotlight for myself.
You might have to keep going, la, 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 la. No, it's looking at me. No need to look at me.
Maybe you can try to spotlight me, Law.
Okay, show me where.
Go to my name and then get where it says more. Click on that and see if it says spotlight in the list.
No, it just says pin.
Oh,
because it's got you as host.
Yeah, so it's not letting me spotlight.
Maybe if you just keep making noise, it will stay on you.
Yeah, you just keep making noise. Keep la 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 la. Okay.
I'll hum a tune, a little ditty.
If you want to make me the host, Ari, I can then spotlight you and then give it back to you.
Okay, thanks. Where are we? Just trying to find you. There we are. Oh no, I just spotlighted you. Oops. There we go.
Anisha G is now the host. Excellent.
All right, Ari, could you please shuffle your cards?
Yep.
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with your scene?
It's
No, Ari, I'm not talking to you.
Oh.
What's wrong with this scene, Artemis?
His camera is the wrong way. No.
No, everything's in the way. Move the keyboard, please.
Yeah.
Oh, out of the way. Move the mouse and the mouse holder out of the way. We want a blank slate. The first thing you got to do, open your eyes and look at your client space. You need to be able to be completely clear in your visuals, all of you. Yeah, move that, please. Ari.
That's a computer.
Okay.
Okay.
This is as clear as it's going to get. It's not my space, unfortunately. That's okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So could you please shuffle your cards, and also could you please tell me your star sign?
Aries.
So you'll appear as a person of wands.
Okay.
Also, please ask your client. Let me know when you finish shuffling.
Yeah. So yeah, just let me know when you're done shuffling.
Okay.
Right. Could you please place one card like closest to the camera? And then one directly on top of that. Oh yeah, that way is good. Yep. No, the way you had it before. Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah. All good. Yeah, and
Just so clear your mind, please. And
the next one.
Hang on. Clear your mind. The first thing you want to say, Artemis, is I want every card to be facing me, please. That way you don't have to stumble through this at all.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so just keep the cards facing that same direction. And yeah, so just put one to the right of center of the second card there. Yeah, and then another one to the left. Then one in the center. Yep, and then one to your right above that. Yeah, and then one to the left. And then one to the left again. On top of, yeah.
No, it's to the right of center. Come on, right of center, left of center.
Left of center, right of
center. Talk quicker.
Center, and then one cross in the middle there. Yeah, thank you. Okay. Well, first thing I'm seeing is that you're a very centered person.
No, that's not the first thing you're seeing at all.
No? Okay. Okay, give me a second.
Because the person opposite you is an adult. That's the first thing you want to be aware of. You're not talking about a page of wands here. You're talking about a person of wands, an adult. So that page of wands is not necessarily the person in front of you.
Okay.
Well, it's not the person in front of you in this instance. What's the most obvious thing on the table? Come on, people, show me the most obvious thing. Somebody yell it out to me. No. This spread is a matter of, or relates to a
child.
A birth. Come on, Ace of Wands, Sun card. It's like written in the book. Ace of Wands, Sun card. Doesn't matter that they're separated by a Seven of Swords.
Is there elements of like secrecy regarding this birth?
No, no. There's something very interesting about this birth. So if we're looking at a birth, which is the Ace of Wands Sun card, yes, who's the child that's born of this?
Fire sign child.
What's your client's star sign?
Aries.
So it's the child of a fire sign, Sagittarius, Leo, or Aries.
Yeah.
Can you hear the difference?
Their child. Yeah. Yeah.
So is this the child of the person you're reading for?
Yes.
Yes. What's interesting about it? Look at the sphere of Binah and tell me why this is interesting.
Is it something to do with the community of people around our airheads? No. Hmm.
Ari knows. I know. Couple
So
of other
movement to the country after this birth as well.
What?
Movement, like moving to the country after the birth.
Oh, I'm nowhere near that yet. That Eight of Wands is completely irrelevant to the discussion in front of us.
Yeah.
I don't know why you put moving to the country after the birth. I don't know why you put after. The first thing is that the birth is significant. The fact that the person concerned in the middle is a mini version of your client is interesting. What's also interesting, yeah, I will go to the 10 of Wands and the 8 of Wands later, but I will look first of all at the 7 of Cups sitting up there in the sphere of Binah and going, this is not a registered or a sanctioned birth. Now, it's also not saying that this is a birth that's yet to come or a birth that's already happened. It's just talking about the birth being significant, and then you see the Page of Wands. But what's interesting about it is the fact that in some way it's unsanctioned. That would be, for example, if we were in China under the one-child policy, this would be the unexpected or unsanctioned second child. It would also be a situation, for example, if you were dealing with somebody who was involved in a same-sex relationship where the donor of the sperm or the egg to that particular person is not registered with the Department of Births, Deaths and Marriages. For fuck's sake, come on, wake up. Yes, Luna. Also, it's very significant insofar as the person concerned, all the capacity, all the work, all the connection, none of it is recognised in the sphere of Binah. So in the sphere of Binah, which is government, hospital, educational bodies, orthodox bodies, things like the Department of Birth, Death and Marriage, even historical, that person who happens to be the person who's associated with the birth of that fire sign child is not registered as the parent of that child. Have any of you met anybody of the same sex in LGBTQI community in your lives? Can I have a show of hands? Anybody met anybody associated with the LGBTQ? Do you know how regular this is? Do you know how often when there's a same-sex relationship that a child is acquired through either egg or sperm donation? Did you know that? Did you know that the person who donates the egg or the sperm is not registered as the parent on the child on the registry of births, deaths and marriages? So did you know that in 2 or 3 generations that person's name is completely obliterated from historical facts and they might never be associated with hereditary or ancestry at all? Now you can go and talk about a country and moving to the country. But I want you to fucking wake up first. And there is a time sequence in here, so pop along. Come on, let's go. Artemis, come on.
8 weeks.
Hey?
8 weeks.
No, where's your 8?
The ones at the top.
No, because they're moving to the country. You had that right in the first place.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, the ones at the bottom.
No.
No.
You're guessing now. Don't guess with me. I don't like it when you guess.
All right. No, I don't see the time sequence.
Yeah, it's the Four of Pentacles.
No?
Four of Pentacles is 4 days, 4 weeks, 4 months, or 4 years. That could be for the person you're reading for or the age of the child. The clear indication to me would be if we're looking at the birth, they're not talking about an adult child. We're not talking about a 16-year-old or an 18-year-old. So we could be looking at a 3 or a 4-year-old. Who's the person fucking laughing in the background because you know exactly what I'm talking about? Okay, yes, I love the
Child's
magician
protected. Yeah, because of the magician card. Like,
you don't even need to mention it.
Yeah, okay.
The 3 of Swords, you don't even need to mention that.
Yeah.
You don't even need to mention the 7 of Swords. They're attempting to either not have sex with somebody or avoiding a sexual connection. You don't needn't worry about that. That can be somebody who's very busy dealing with the public. Now, we'll mention this. Any of you under the age of 40 may very well find yourselves in a situation where you're reading tarot or numerology for the public, where people want to flirt with you. Okay, there's a really big risk. This is great, actually. This is fabulous to be able to have this conversation right now. We are in the same situation as school teachers or as doctors or as in some form of priest. We do not engage in sexual connections with our clients. It is taboo. We can recognize the fact that they may be trying. What happens away from your tarot table is another thing. But do not engage at the table. And there is an interesting phenomenon does happen when a person is in a position that you will be in if you're doing this for a living, is people will almost put you pedestal like. That's cruel, but it will happen. And it puts you in a position where you're going to seem like you're more important than you are. Now, when you get brought down, who's going to do the collapsing? You are. So never let them put you in that position. Just keep that in mind. Okay. So what's the interesting thing about, what's the extra interesting things about this spread? And then we'll finish with it, because it's so obvious. Bear in mind, things don't go in a line like a lightning flash, and things don't go necessarily in a line. Your eyes move from thing to thing. So the eyes automatically, are you still with me, Artemis, or have you gone?
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Yeah, your eyes need to move from the Magician card to the High Priestess card. And I actually did do an entire first chapter on those two cards when they fell together. If you want to go back and have a look at it, I mean, I don't know who's got it. I think I gave you all the online version of Advanced Tarot, didn't I, at one stage? Yeah. There is a chapter on those two cards together. I'm not going to bother with it today because we'll run out of time. That's fucking funny. There's like run out of toilet paper. Okay.
Yeah, that card is the interesting thing, but I just don't understand how it.
The person concerned, when you look at the sphere of Chokmah, the person concerned has an online presence as a mystic. Oh.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, stick them together. Thank you, Ari.
Thank you. Thanks, Artemis.
Thanks, Artemis. Ari, can you shuffle them at the end and put a card you like at the bottom, and then we'll spotlight Anisha, if you can then spotlight Artemis. We'll see if that fucking Queen of Swords turns up again, shall we, Artemis?
Oh, God.
Ripped my fucking eyes out this week. That was so ridiculous.
Laura, can we keep Anisha as the spotlight person, because my style is
just ask Anisha. She's grown up.
Sure.
For you to do the spotlighting. Thank you.
Yep.
But the one thing that you're going to have to do, Artemis, is move your body back about a foot.
Yeah, it's not entirely. Yeah.
Ari, start talking.
Okay. Artemis, could you please tell me your star sign?
Yeah, Taurus.
Taurus. Okay. So when you're ready, you'll show up as a person of pentacles, or yes, person of pentacles. And when you're ready, can you start shuffling the cards and give a card, 4 cards facing towards the camera closest towards me?
When you've finished shuffling the cards, usually I'll just say, can you please shuffle until it feels right? Can you please say that?
That just froze. Sorry, I didn't hear what you said because the whole thing.
No, put them back. Could you please say to the client, please shuffle until they feel right?
Please shuffle until they feel right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now you can place the top card closest to me. Have all the cards facing towards me when you put them out. Okay, can you put another card on top of that and just above that? And then to your right of center. And then to the left of center. And then in the center. And then to the right of center.
You're going to need to ask your client to put them closer together, and Artemis, don't preempt your reader, please, by putting the cards out before they suggest it to you.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, and then put another one to the right of center.
You're going to have to preempt it and tell them they haven't got enough room.
Just move them towards me a bit closer, please. Yeah, that's it. The bottom one doesn't need to, but the others do, yeah. That's it. And then to the left of center. And then in the center towards you. And then across in that gap. Thank you. Okay. I'm just going to start talking, Law, and then you just do what you need to do. So it looks...
Thanks, Ari.
Okay. Part-time study. Looks like there's some part-time study or some, part-time study going on. Part-time work, part-time study. I'm not sure with in the sphere of Gavura, if that is like some kind of martial arts, physical discipline work, or if it's conflict with the family.
It's not with the 5 of Swords above it.
Okay.
5 of Swords, 5 of Wands together is a strike.
Okay.
Or a protest of some description. Public protest against a government decision or an orthodox. It's those two together, always some kind of strike.
And the person of cups.
Ignore that.
Okay. And this, I'm just throwing this out there. Would these protests, like, because it's the Hermit card, would these be down south?
No. You're on the wrong track. You're just fucking making shit up now.
Okay. Was I right with the part-time study?
Yeah. Well, that's...
Look, no, stop talking to him, Artemis. He's your reader. He doesn't ask you to back up his work and to say...
No, I was asking you, Law.
I don't know, because I'm not in the person's future.
Okay.
And that's not the 3 that I'm focusing on.
Oh, I'm focusing on
5 cards
Hermit and Death are really sticking out, and the Wish card, the 9 of Cups. So that trinity there.
They better not be sticking out without the 10 of Cups.
Well, that's the central figure of like family, happiness, contentment in the middle, whatever that is. It doesn't seem like it's much of a problem with that in the center. So with family and happiness and that in the center, how is that relevant to my client?
Don't ask me a question.
It's rhetorical. But definitely Hermit and Death are sticking, those 4 in the middle are sticking out for sure. This is interesting. Look, I could be way off track, but with the Hermit and Death, it could be talking about the death of old people.
No, you're way off track. You're actually way off track.
Okay.
There's several. You don't expect there to just be one thing on the table, but there's not one thing here.
Look, the central column, the middle pillar, there's no problem with that at all, because look at the victory cards there and the trust in the process.
Tell me what to look at and stop bringing up each card individually. I'll shoot you.
No, I'm just looking at the central column.
Tell me what is going to happen with this person. What is the most important thing to this person in the future? Their home.
Huh?
Their home.
Home and family, yeah, or home.
No, I didn't know. I did not say fucking family.
Home is the most important thing to you in the future.
It doesn't say family. There's nothing says family in this whole spread. Okay, so what I'm very aware of this, in the sphere of hood, long and short journeys, etc., where is the Hermit card? In Australia, where is the Hermit card, Ari?
South.
Like what south?
Colder climates, like
Victoria, South Australia, or Tasmania.
Places like Melbourne, because that's south of Sydney, but I don't know where the client is. If they're in Melbourne already, then it's south of Melbourne.
It doesn't matter. The place simply says the Hermit card, so it gets fucking cold in winter. But there's no indication that they're traveling overseas.
No.
Okay, that's the first thing you see is not only what it is, but what it's not. If there was overseas travel, it could be Canada, it could be Austria, whatever. None of that. So therefore, the indication is that the person will be living in a colder climate like Tasmania, Victoria, or South Australia, or Phillip Island.
Yeah.
Because all indications, particularly again with the bottom part or the ruach, including the nefesh, is letting you know the ruach. The entire ruach is saying everything home is a precious thing. Doesn't say family. There is a little interesting key there with the 9 of Cups and the Death card. Whew. Wipe my brow. Would this person be fertile? I would say so. Is this person going to have an abortion or miscarriage, or make certain that they don't get pregnant at this particular moment in time in history? Abso-fucking-lutely. It's like, no. That's what the fucking wish card is with the Death card. It's like, phew, missed a bullet there. Seriously, Ari, it's almost as if nothing's happening. It's a very nondescript map. The water sign person doesn't even matter. It's simply it could be a colleague and a friend. It doesn't say who it is. It's just there in this. It's somebody that they relate to either on internet, friend who's technologically capable. Doesn't say what the gender of the person is.
And is it kind of like, oh, okay, keep going as an outcome? It's just keep going.
It's pretty much
Trust
saying
and
to
just keep
them,
going.
it's pretty much saying to the person, where you are, where you live, where home is, absolutely fucking fabulous. Keep going. Don't worry about it. If there's a need for you to get involved in politics, you will to a degree. Nothing else is there. Focus on your work. It's almost saying nothing. It's so pleasantly calm. I mean, I can look at that Five of Swords and that Five of Wands and realise that we have nothing but we have an Extinction Rebellion. We're in Melbourne, for fuck's sake. We have Extinction Rebellion protests. We have rebellion. We have protests every weekend against the government shutting down the state. We have protests every weekend with the school strikes. So that to agree this will affect the work of the person, their capacity to sort of like, but yes, it's part-time everything. Doesn't say if it's education. Education would sit up in the sphere of Binar, Ari. What it does say with the Two of Pentacles is part-time dealing with the public.
And with that as a key,
work is a key. Eight of Wands is Eight of Pentacles is a key.
Yeah. That's what I mean. With that as the key, it would mean, that's why I got the kind of more of like some kind of study or just working.
No, the key is a focus. It's not an event. It's a key. It's not the fucking door, and it's not the house that the door opens onto. Please, can you be? Is that any clearer?
Yeah. The key is.
The key is the key. It's not the door. It's not the house. It's the key.
Yeah. So the key is keep working.
No, it doesn't say. No. You're telling the person what to do. Don't do that. The key is the person's work. It doesn't say keep working. That's giving an order. Did you hear what you just said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what comes out of your mouth really matters. Work is the person's key. Everything else is sorting itself out. Everything else is fine. How the person works, what the person's work is, how they work in the world, what they're working on, all of that is significant in this particular instance. But everything else is simple. Please see how simple this is.
Mm-hmm. After you say it, it's definitely, you can see it. After you say it, you're like, oh yeah, I can see how that would be that.
Okay, put them together. Let's get on. Who else have we got that hasn't been in the spotlight yet? Luna. Me. Okay, who else is going to work with Luna?
Thanks, Ari.
Thank you, Artemis. Make sure you put a nice card at the bottom.
Yeah, I will.
Thanks, Ari. Who has?
I've got my son here. I've got to go and take care of.
Okay, can we hand that across to you, Anisha, being to organise to be host and spotlight shit?
Thank you.
Oh, I'm doing it.
Thanks.
Who has not worked yet? Who's willing to work with Luna? Come on, put your hands up. Okay.
I haven't read for anyone yet.
Who's that speaking?
Anisha.
You've worked.
I've been the card shuffler, not the reader.
I haven't been read for? Okay. So, Luna, we'll need to spotlight. Oh, Anisha, you've been read for, haven't you?
No, I've been read for. I haven't done the reading.
Okay, so we're spotlighting Luna?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah? So I'll leave it, I'll turn it over to you two. You've got to be able to put your camera down, Luna, onto your workspace. That's a tiny little fucking workspace.
Okay, trying to get my resources right. Okay, I'm gonna make something else. Hold on, sorry.
Just to continue with the patterning.
Well, hopefully that works.
I'm not sure if we'll fit all the cards in that space.
Let me see.
Yeah.
I don't have the big ones. Let's see the size. Yeah, should work.
So, would you mind please telling me your star sign?
I'm a Virgo.
So you'll show up as a person of pentacles. Would you please shuffle your cards until you feel right? And when you're finished shuffling, the first card put closest to the camera and down the middle.
Oh.
No, the other furthest away from you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then another one above it, right of center, left of center, in the middle, right of center, left of center, right of center, left of center, in the middle, and then cross in that space, blank space there.
Anisha, what's your first impression? Don't pull anything apart. Just what's your first impression?
Are you unmuted?
I'm unmuted. Anisha, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay,
I'm
cool.
thinking.
Just let your eyes wander.
My first impression is there's a lot of color blue.
Okay, what next? That can be significant because that automatically is going to put a sense of dampness over everything when there's a lot of blue. That's a pretty interesting thing to pick up, so that's excellent. There's something staring at me like I can't believe it.
The Ten of Swords is really staring at me, and the Five of Swords. Those two are really staring at me. With the Moon card.
Now the person you're reading for is going to hate the first thing that you say to them. But what you say to them, if you get it right, excuse me for the word right, is actually going to be of great benefit to the person that you're reading for. Do you remember at one stage when I mentioned the Judgment card and the Page of Wands, what it represented?
Dental work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Add that to the Ten of Swords and the Moon card and the Five of Swords. What are you going to tell your client? I mean, sometimes you do, in a case like this, there is definitely something that you advise your client of.
To see the dentist.
Look around for a good dentist.
Yeah.
And also that it's fabulous. Thank you, Anisha. Also that Five of Swords says that they might try to put it off.
Yeah.
But the Moon card is really interesting because the person is concerned with their appearance.
Yeah.
Keep going.
They might be in.
You've actually got two layers of events, one on top of the other. One's personal, the other one's inter or intrapersonal. So cool. This is very cool to get a one like this.
They're going to be in dental pain, and they should look for a good dentist.
The person concerned also has a problem with whoever we're talking about, because we don't know who we're talking about, has a problem with body dysmorphia. And look at the triangle that I can see there is between Hud and Tiferet and Netzach. They struggle with their appearance.
Yep. Yeah. And they work a lot on their appearance as well, trying to make themselves look good.
Could do. I haven't got that. Are they involved in some way with domestic violence?
The Ten of Swords seems to say yes.
Ten of Swords and the Five of Swords is an indication that they are involved in a fight against violence or violation of some description. Particularly in this instance with the Moon card being associated particularly with women or trans people. So there also is a clear indication with the Three of Wands to do up in the sphere of Binah, to do with some form of struggle. If I can flip back down again to the Five of Swords, some form of struggle.
What's Three of Wands saying in the sphere of Binah?
The Three of Wands is a time sequence.
Okay.
So they could be, again, they could also be studying, because if you, when you look at to do with language, communication, etc., in the sphere of Hood, that doesn't look to be a problem. But they may have to finish their study over a 3-year period of time. You've got multifaceted things here, absolutely multifaceted things, because again, with the Ten of Swords, you're looking at the idea, for example, in Ten of Swords and the Knight of Pentacles above that in the Moon card, again, we could be looking at tattoo or piercings.
Yeah.
Now, if I had a mother, she would tell me that I was involved in self-mutilation through getting tattoo work. She could be very disappointed.
Yeah,
so it's a difficult one to read for Anisha, because it is multi-layered. Can you see that as well when you get into it?
Yeah, because the moon is also the mother, and then it's in the sphere of Netzach, so that also could be it.
Well, the Moon card in the sphere of Netzach is very much to do with appearance,
the
face, yeah. And it's also very much, be very aware that the moon is so-called reflects the sun's light. So if you consider the fact that the moon, as far as the planetary body goes, reflects the sun's light, and then you look at the Five of Swords sitting in the sphere of Tiferet, which is associated with the sun, you can also see that this person is having a difficulty within themselves of being accepted in their own right as a woman or a trans woman. Either way, like, they're still having a struggle in that situation because they're coming through as woman. Do you get me?
Yeah. Yeah, the Five is definitely like conflict in the sphere of self.
Yeah.
Therefore, yeah, I can see that.
And I will add, for the sake of just adding it, even though it's not necessarily associated with this, knowing that Luna is in the Northern Rivers region. Is that correct, Luna? You're still in the Northern Rivers region?
Yep.
Okay, because in the Northern Rivers region, believe it or not, men just rule the fucking roost.
Oh.
They really do. And they like the little tourist girls who are 16 years old, and they maintain that anybody who's over 20 is too fucking old. Now, it's an odd thing to realise that probably goes in a lot of different communities, but it's really interesting to recognise it in this instance with the Moon card and the Five of Swords, because this very often, the Moon card with the Five of Swords and this, like, where the positions are, the juxtaposition of Sun and Moon in this instance, the juxtaposition of self and femininity, for example, in this particular instance, that conflict, that lack of self-esteem, that it's like it gets messy, Anisha, in consciousness.
Yeah.
You know, but that Ten of Swords is very, very interesting because it not only, as soon as it came out, the first thing I'd be saying to the person is watch where you put your feet.
Yeah.
Because of that sensation of danger on the ground. That can be brown snakes, that can be walking through a building site and not wanting to step on a nail, but they're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
And then they're going to have to fucking fix it up. And if they, for example, when looking at that dental work, this is difficult because it's always difficult. If a person's in front of me, I know exactly what that means. But in the instance where you're reading for somebody else, if they sort of fall over, they trip over something and they crack a front tooth.
Yeah.
Moon card, immediately it affects their appearance, sense of self with appearance. Immediately they're going to get on the blower, the phone, the internet, or whatever they're going to be doing with this within the sphere of hood to find out who they can get to. Would they have to go on a waiting list? With that Three of Wands, yeah, would have to go on a waiting list. Will they get their tooth fixed up? Yes. And I mean, one mightn't think that a snapped tooth is a big deal, but it fucking is.
It's a big
if you're depending on your appearance for your job, for your work, for example.
Yep.
And also the pain that could come with that Ten of Swords could be excruciating. So I'm back to the dental work again. But you, Anisha, you've got it.
What's Hermit saying in the key?
Pardon?
What does Hermit signify in the key area?
Oh, nothing. Remember, it's a concept. It's not an actuality in this particular instance. It's a concept. It's a theory. It's a key. And the one thing I'm very aware of is a person who doesn't look after their teeth when they're a young adult is going to rue the day when they become an older person like me.
Yeah.
So they've got to get it fixed. And it hasn't happened yet. We don't know who it's for in the environment or the room, but somebody's going to cop it.
Yeah.
That Ten of Swords can be just smashing into a fucking door on your way through from one room to another. Whoops, there goes your front tooth.
Yeah. Yep. It's looking very clear now. Yeah. Thank you.
There's no indication of how much it's going to cost. None of that's relevant. The Knight of Pentacles is just saying take care of this.
Yeah. Take care of it. Yeah.
So, yeah, spot on. All right. Let's stick them away. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Luna's got to do somebody else.
I haven't had a go yet.
Who's speaking? I cannot see you.
Katina.
Katina, you haven't had a go yet? Okay, cool. All right, so can you get read? Luna, can you read for Katina?
Yeah. Yes.
So spotlight, thank you. Anisha is on Katina. Awesome. I'm getting this down right. Okay, Luna, so start your spiel.
Hi, Katina. How are you?
Thank you.
That's good. What's your star sign?
It's Libra.
Libra. Okay, so you're going to come out in the spread as a person of swords. You can start shuffling. And whenever you finish and it feels good, let me know.
Okay, done.
All right, excellent. Okay, so you're going to place the top card closest to me, facing up. Yes, excellent.
I hope this is going to fit.
Now, the next one above that one. Great. Now to right of center. To left of center. And I see the space might be a little bit too small. If you can kind of overlap the cards a little bit and move them down. Yeah. Lovely. Okay, so now one in the center. One right of center. Left to center. Not to the right, please.
That's
Yeah,
my
right.
right. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now left to center. Yeah. Now right of center. Left to center. I can't see those, so if you can just move them. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Now left of center. Right in the top middle. I cannot see that one at all. Okay, I see is the two of pentacles.
Yep.
Okay, and one crossing. Okay.
I'm just going to hold it up a bit.
All right. Thank you.
Hang on, I'll move it back. Sorry, I'm trying to get it to stick. Is that better?
Yeah. Yeah, I can see it. That's great. Thank you. All right. So right in the center, we have
Don't speak. Don't be Captain Obvious.
Okay.
Look at the bottom card closest to the camera. The one above that. Look at the sphere of hood. Let your eyes go there now. Let your eyes go above that into the sphere of Gilda. Now come back to the center. Then go across to the Emperor card. Okay, please go across then to the Sun card, where the Sun card falls in the sphere of Binah. Move across now to the sphere of Chokmah. And then move up to the sphere of Keter and realize you're looking at one thing only.
Thought I was getting it until you said that I was looking at just one thing.
It's one thing only.
So sit around.
Okay, I can tell you right now, this is the spread of a single parent multitasking, looking after children and it's a pain in the neck.
Okay, I was not going to say that.
I know you weren't. That's why I disrupted you.
I was getting the way my brain was going is kind of getting the cards and then trying to make just one sentence that kind of set everything around the cards. So I got the not moving, being a bit restrictive, which that can be kids, which is symbolized as the sun as well.
I know what it's all symbolizing, but you're taking each card to
yeah,
apart
exactly.
Instead of focusing on the central theme is the person multitasking. Look, they're doing 5 things at a time. That's the person that you're reading for, is doing 5 things at a time. That's called multitasking. Every fucking single parent knows about doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And of course we look at the family, kids, obvious, the education system over there with the Emperor card. They're attempting to do everything at once, which is your 10 of fucking wands. Not being able to travel. Difficulties, there could even be difficulties with transportation there. Now, what's an interesting little indication about this? It's hilarious. When you see it, you're going to just fucking, you don't want to put a stake through my foot or my heart.
Oh, I said the sleepless nights.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
So what's the question again? Sorry. What's the indicator for what? For that's a single parent
What's the
working.
interesting, I just want to know if you can pick up the interesting factor to do with this person and their home. I mean, apart from the fact of what they're juggling.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the central theme? I mean, apart from, no, don't go to Tiferet, go to Malkut. What's the central theme of this whole map?
The home.
Yeah,
The
thank
central
you.
home.
Okay, that's the first thing you got to get.
Yeah.
What backs that up is in this Sphere Yesud.
Yeah, the world card.
I know that. What does it say? Don't tell me the obvious, Captain Obvious. The world card, we know that. So the central theme is home. What is the world card indicating there? It
It's that there are
indicates they may
hurdles
have
over
family
cities.
over water.
Yeah.
You should have said that. You got it. You had it in your brain, and you didn't say it.
Yeah.
Say it. If it's in your brain, fucking say it, because it's backed up by what?
What's backed up? The inability to go.
No, it's backed
home.
up by the Six of Swords.
Yeah.
But there's an interesting juxtaposition here because of the swords in the sphere of Hood. Now, are we looking at long or short journeys, or are we looking at somebody who's just fucking not listened to, who's got to do it all as if they might as well just be them?
Yeah.
It's not necessarily to do with travel, because the Six of Swords makes that not true. The Six of Swords has nothing to do with them not being able to travel. So that tells you that the swords they're entrapment has got to do with them not being able to communicate. Of course they can't communicate, because they're having to do 5 things at a fucking time and carry the whole fucking load in the Ten of Wands there, which is including the kids. Would they like a partner to be able to take partnership in that? Of course they would. There's no indication that the person concerned does not have a partner. But there's a very strong indication that the partner is not present in the business necessary to take care of the home. But there's a little bit here that's worth mentioning.
Yeah, and it's that like the Two of Pentacles is like the uneven responsibility sharing. She's
it's not a thing. It's not a thing. I mean, consciousness is going to think about the whole idea of how nice partnerships would be if they were equal, but that's not the thing. The interesting thing is the Six of Swords. That person crosses water, but it's not showing up as being far. The indication that it's not far is the world card. The world card is far, but the Six of Swords and then the restraint and restriction says it's not far. The person, if for example we're looking at Australia, we're looking at somebody who'd be popping across to Tasmania or New Zealand, or an island off the coast. It's not far, because of all the attention that's put everywhere else onto family and home. Now, the world card is a very interesting... I know exactly who this spread's for. What drives them nuts?
What drives a person nuts? Well, seems like not being heard and just feeling tied down. Like the lack of communication.
No, that is what it is. That what drives them nuts is the Nine of Swords.
Yeah.
And what is it about the Nine of Swords that distresses the person that this is being read for?
Is it about that going home, that it's so close yet so far? Because
No. Have you ever been around kids?
yeah, I am.
Okay, so you want kids to be enjoying themselves and out swimming and playing and surfing and learning interesting things and excitement. And what do fucking kids want to do? They want to sit in front of a fucking screen all day into the night. If there's not a parent in this fucking room who won't be putting their hands up right now, I'll just scream. There.
Okay, yes, because that's like the Chokmah is the sphere of like technology and internet and all that.
And the interesting thing about the Nine of Swords is the fact that they've got their coverlet on them has got all the information available to them that they need.
Yeah.
The threat is hanging over their heads, which is that there's all those swords. Yeah? The Ten of Swords, okay. Oh. The interesting thing about when you attempt to tell your offspring to switch the fucking screen off and they chuck a number on you, there's your Ten of Swords. That's the pain in the neck. Yeah. It's sort of a simple map in a beautiful kind of a way. But what you're doing when you look at this is you're in symbiosis with the person opposite me, and I can see their fucking frustration. Yes, they've created a home, but boy, they're fucking frustrated and never being listened to. So this has almost got what I would have said to my family years ago, which is if I was on my own, I would have had to do it anyway. And yeah, I'm looking at several of you up the side there going, oh, this one's about me. Yes, that's it. There's nothing else. They're not really doing anything. This is what's going on for them for the foreseeable future. Okay? So what's the most important thing you can say is you actually have your home. There's all kinds of dramas within that, but you actually have your home. And somehow, somewhere, that is a lot of relief to a lot of people who might think they have to move or they might have to go from place to place or they're not feeling. There's a lot of people that are in their own way homeless. People like me who rent, you never know. You're quite nomadic. When a person's in their home, that Ten of Cups exactly. But they're also really, really clearly with that Ten of Cups in the sphere of Malkut, aware that Earth is home. So the person you're looking at is very likely to be an animist or someone who's very ecocentrically aware. Just to give a little bit of beauty to this, otherwise what seems like a boring map, they're not. The person mightn't even live in Australia. Mightn't even live in Australia. I mean, there's so many exciting things about this also. I mean, if I was to look at it from without the first impression is done. But there it is. But that Five of Wands could also be someone who speaks 5 languages. Whose home is anywhere on Earth that they move to. Who is working so thoroughly at dealing with bureaucracy that it, again, drives them nuts.
Yeah.
But that fuck me, they compromise. The two of Pentacles, where it is, it's such a sense of compromise, but it's not problematic compromise. It's just what you got to do. And that's how you communicate to your clients. Is there an indication of health issues?
I don't see any.
No, there aren't any. Yeah, so that's absolutely none at all. All right. Let's finish up now and question time.
Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you so much. When you shuffle your cards, when you're finishing up there, please, Katina, give them a good shuffle and leave a really yummy one at the bottom. That star card will do.
Okay.
Now why finish on a person? Ah, lovely. Right.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So, excellent. Let's go. Any questions? Questions? None?
I have a question. How to kind of get a sense of the different spheres and what a card means in that sphere. It's adding like a 4D dimension, right?
Well, see, just get a really deep comprehension on the actual planetary associations, but almost the need to simplify what you'll read about planetary association. I mean, I put up the post that was as simple as I could make it, so that you didn't get too confused with all, like you've got enough to think about with all the different meanings per card. But once you put the card with the planetary association, you've got, okay, that's what happens if I put chili in the meat. Do you get me? As a kind of a metaphor. That's what happens if I put Epsom salts in my bath. So that the two things together make a different outcome to if I just had the chili or I just had the meat. So the card would be just the meat and the chili would be just the planetary association. When you put them together, it almost transforms them into a third thing. But the whole overall view, the apps, as soon as the map is put out, your knowledge is going to see the glyph of 10 Sephirot with the 11th, which is the art. You're immediately going to see that glyph and you're immediately going to relate to the planets. And then you're going to stop thinking about them. You cool? That's the first thing you want to do. And then once the cards land on that spot, that's when you go, oh, moon card and sphere Netzach. That's the appearance. This is like appearance. And beauty, sense of aesthetics, art, the art of the face. Does that help?
Yep.
And it's, of course, it's never just the one thing, which is where, but nothing's ever just one thing. You don't get a monocrop with tarot like you don't get a monocrop with a really good food garden. More. And this is, again, I will add that this is just over and over and over and over and over, getting the experience of doing it too. Yeah. Sorry?
Do you ever have a reading, like a map that there's more than one person that you're talking about in the map?
Yep.
Okay.
Definitely. And also with a map, you'll be saying it like a spayet, real clear, and then you'll get, oh, hang on, there's something else. And juxtaposed over the top of it, or superimposed over the top of that, will be another series of events. And that could happen up to 3 or even 4 times when you're looking at that map. So that first of all, you see the situation, then it'll shift slightly. Like in a kaleidoscope where you've only got 5 pieces, but the slightest shift is going to give you a different viewpoint. So you've said the first lot of what you realise the map says, and then your eye will just go boom to one area like Binah, and you go, oh, reading it all from that perspective is a very different viewpoint. And then, of course, there's the body stuff over the top of that. And then, yes, if it's somebody else, it won't be reading anybody else's cards, except for the person in front of you. It won't be reading anybody else, but it will add the people in there. And the more people you've got in a map, the worse it is, the harder it is. Because in the end, if I've got sort of like 4 or 5 or 6 people mentioned in a map, I'm going to go, there's too many fucking people for me to even bother with here. That'll come out of my mouth first, because why should I bother taking one person and their star sign a piece, another person and their star sign a piece, only if there's a predator, or only if there's a person that needs to be really focused on. Sometimes that'll be an autistic child, sometimes that will be a mother who's due to die, whatever it is, it'll focus on that person and the circumstances around them. And then once you change your vision and you put your dot on the piece of paper in another area, it'll change the whole viewpoint of the map. But each time it'll be clear, because exactly like the Sephiroth, what occurs is if I put my focus onto Netzach, I can build another tree off that. So Netzach becomes the Malkut of another tree. Remember we played around with that?
Yeah.
It's like Y-node theory. Everything we did in the first 3 weeks will hold you in good stead with tarot and numerology for the rest of your fucking life. But the moment you lose track of that, you'll forget about it after about 10 years. But after about 10 years, you're probably going to be teaching this anyway, so it's worth remembering so that you can bring it up to the surface when you need to. You see, each one of you have got trillions and trillions of memories. Each memory is built into this vastness of who you are. Every cell of your body is sucking it up. Well, every cell of your body is one of the Sephiroth on the tree. That's how many cells there are. That's how many spheres there are in a tree. Every single time you think you've got it right, it's the most quantum of concepts. Exactly like Y-node theory, because when people draw that stylized 10 spheres in that fucking shape, so many people get caught, and I did warn you that this would happen, between the idea of that which is below and that which is above. And that's where we stop. That needs to stop. So always Malkut is the expression, the outside, the environment, what is obvious to do with what's on, in, around, or to do with Earth, which is at home. And then everything moves from there, and we're exploring. It's like you really have, you've got a pack on your back, just like the Fool card, and you've got it hanging over a stick over your shoulder, and you're journeying through this entire landscape. But every single place you go is going to come back and be Malkut. It's an expression of Malkut. I'm looking at the speaker as if the speaker is somewhere that I should be looking at. It's a ridiculous thing to be looking at. That's where you were talking from. I feel like a fuckwit. Okay, I'll look at the camera. Yeah, so it's nothing about this is limited to the concept of just 10 with a perspective 11. It's similar to if you had 50 people, one after the other, for numerology, and you told them all the same thing. What the fuck? And I'll tell you something, I'm very, very certain, because I won't name names, but there are certain people that I have met, particularly in the Byron Shire, and they sit down very seriously with each person that's opposite them, and they say the same fucking thing to each one of them. And the person is an astrologer. They use the same language with each person. They did it to me. They were completely off. They had nothing right. They were supposedly predicting the next 12 months of my life. They had nothing right. Nothing came to pass. And then I listened to 2 friends' readings, and they used the same lingo. So we have to be careful of not using a lingo. Hey, your solar plexus chakra is going to be playing up next week. That's lingo. This is why I want you to clear all that out, so that you're not superimposing the idea of what sounds right as a psychic to the person that comes and visits you. Yeah? Anything else? It's not easy to rid yourself. I'm still working at it, rid myself of sort of stupid terminology. So, please just give yourselves lots of love and lots of kisses, because this is like a beginning place, and it doesn't matter if you've been working with what you consider tarot or oracle cards or numerology or astrology. It doesn't matter if you've been doing it for 20 years. You haven't been doing this for 20 years, or you wouldn't be here. So this is just adding to your package. But it just works so savagely and incredibly and magnificently and wildly well that I can seem like an adamant piece of work because I am. I love being right. And I love being right time and time and time and time and time and time again. Till the end Don't think about that. All I do is love. Can you get it? That's you start out by going, oh, I got that one right. And then you go, oh, I got that one right. A month later, a year later, you're going, oh, I just love you. And then tarot, you just go, I fucking love you, you big bastard. Because it's so, when you see it, it's so obvious. But to break it into its parts, that's what, interestingly enough, science is attempting to do. That's what government is attempting to do. And that's what religion is attempting to do, is hate your neighbour. That doesn't work. No, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Oh, interesting, that's a word. That's an interesting word to look up, belief. Put that on your piece of paper and add that to your etymology. Not what you think it is. When you know a thing, you know a thing. You can't unknow it. It's the same, like if I was to sit here today and say, I'm going to go outside and eat some ice cream when I haven't had sugar for 8 years, I know what's going to happen. Everything in me goes, why are you doing this when you know? So it's the same thing as if we have like earlier with that person who's multitasking, doing 5 things at a time to do with family. It gets to the state, you know you're doing 5 things at a time. You know you're handling the whole thing. Why would you sit down with your family and say, I'm not going to do this anymore? You could. I want to give an example here. This is one of my students, his name was Caroline, a few years ago. And I didn't get it at first. About week 3, Caroline came in. We're working at I had my studio at the Arts Factory in the Byron region. And Caroline would have been 38, maybe. So, yeah, 38, that's a rough guess. So Caroline came in about week 3, it would have been week 4. Came in at week 4 before the class started. And mind you, usually with the class, I've got people from between the ages of 17 and 70. So it's not a matter of, I get more people at the age 17 to 27 than I do older than that, under normal circumstances. Caroline says, I can't come anymore. And I said, why? She said, oh, I'm just too tired. I'm way too tired. After the class, nothing gets done and I'm just too tired to do the work. And I really want to do the work, but it's just too tiring. And I said, oh, darling. And she said, yeah. She said, I've got to go home. I've got to organise the kids' clothing for the next day and for school for the following week. I've got to organise their lunches. And I'm like, wow, how old are your babies? And she looked at me for a second. And then she says 14, 17 and 18. 3 boys. And I went, I'm butting out of this shit, mate. I'm not going to say a word. And in comes the younger ones and spent their time talking about all this, because I'm not the person to speak to, because I said to my offspring when they turned 14, you're old enough to fuck, therefore you're old enough to feed yourselves. That's my philosophy. I have no idea why a person is being servant to adult human beings at all. So I got out of the way and I let the rest of them deal with it. And there was probably about 3 hours. We didn't get much learning done that day, but everybody was focused on Caroline. And the following Saturday, Caroline was back. I said, what happened? She said, I went home and stopped at Ocean Shores at the supermarket there, and I bought chips, and I went home and I sat in front of the TV with my little food tray, and I ate my chips, and the kids came in and said, where's dinner? She said, I'm eating my chips. I've got mine. And they apparently chucked a bit of a number. She just kept doing the chips and watching the television. And then there was huge, apparently it was a huge debacle. Every night of that week, she probably put on a bit of body fat, and it probably wasn't to her best advantage, but every night of that week and for the entirety of the week, she bought chips. And by the end of one fucking week, they were doing all their own washing. This is including the husband that she was washing for and cleaning for. And don't kid yourself for a minute. Oh, because you're my wife, you're supposed to do all this. And the sons are like, I can't go to cricket tomorrow because you haven't washed my clothes. This is a 17-year-old. So she was back the next week because she ate chips all week and she took no notice of what they wanted. And by the end of 1 week, they were actually cooking their own food and washing their own clothes. It was that quick. She did the whole course. It was about another year later, I'm in Woolies at the deli section, and Caroline comes in. She's with some bloke, and they come up to me, and Caroline introduces me to the bloke, and he said, "Oh, so you're Lai?" And I went, "Yep." And he said, "I used to love my wife. Oh, oh, this is me just biting things." And then he said, "But now I like her." And he shook my hand. That was that. She ended up leaving him and the family. They went their own way. She ended up getting a woman lover. Travel around the world. She came back to see me. Next time she was on this fucking great big Harley. It was the most immaculate thing ever. But the point was that she was not taking it. Everybody in Ocean Shores did the same thing. All the women were stuck being this servant person to these adults. And you know what that does? That denies them the right to be responsible for their own lives. She's not doing them a favour. So that if the sons leave home and they get involved with lovers, they're going to expect their lovers to clean up after them. They're going to expect their lovers to cook for them. They're going to expect their lovers to sort of be the only people who deal with the children. Do you understand how this ends up being a huge ethical thing that you're doing? Because it is. And that's a path with heart. When you can at least, in a situation where you are encountering somebody who's stuck like that, you don't have to be the centre of everything. You can bring in the buddies. There used to be an old-fashioned thing called passing the hat, which was another interesting one. And a friend of mine, Gav, got in touch with me last week, and long story. Apparently when I first moved to Byron, he's a multi-millionaire now. Got a few properties. Contacted me out of the blue last week, and he reminded me way back in Byron when he was first there. He was staying in a tent in my back garden, and he didn't have enough food for the money for the week. I got the coven together and I passed the hat, and we got him $50. So he went shopping for his food, etc. This is community. I forgot about that. It was close to 20 years before this guy turns up. He's got a $50 note in his hand. He put it down on the table. I said, "What the fuck is that?" He said, "You saved my life by doing that." But because I passed the hat, he didn't know anything. He wasn't like, "Oh, I'm lending you $50, you got to pay me back." See, there's a thing about reciprocity, which is why I mentioned Robin Wall Kimmerer, and why it's really worth putting the time into the study outside of this, as well as this, to be able to establish really solid foundations to your ethics. And the ethics have just got to dwell in beauty, that's all. And beauty is not anything at all popular. Beauty can be savage. It can be it's tooth and claw. Beauty can be ripping a person's guts open to remove the arrow. Yep, it's a beautiful thing. Oops. Anyway, I think that my fucking phone's gone. Poor thing's dying. If there's no more questions, I think we're done for the day. Homework for next week is get your questions, because it's our final week next week. So homework is get your questions organised, everything that you haven't had answered. If you need specific time with numerology, we'll cover that. Anything to do with ethics, anything to do with the difference between ethics, morality, spirituality and religion, all of those things are part of what my work is. So it's not about just the specific tools. It has to be the garden, okay? Your garden and how the garden is working is what's going to be significant to the way you read tarot, and you just can't be dumb. We done? Bye.
Thank you.
See you next week. Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.